Oh my dear, Marty, look at you. You lost like 30 pounds.
35 to be exact, Eto.
Oh, you okay?
I've never felt better. You know how I stay on the Instagrams to stay relevant?
Yeah, you do it for the gram boogers.
I came across something called Smashing Greens Fasting Challenge. You can do a 5, 10, or 12-day, Eto. What you do is you take this supplement called Smashing Greens, and it's completely plant-based, and it has everything you need to survive the ketosis process.
Keto what?
Ketosis, Eto. Basically, you say sayonara to the fat.
Oh, I love it when they take the fat off the meat.
I know you do, Eto. I know you do. Basically, I've done all 3 in the span of a few months, and I feel outstanding. I'm back to tap dancing like Fred Astaire.
Oh my, all this talk about tapping has me flustered.
Well, don't get your feathers all ruffled, little birdie. 'Cause this eagle's got a pocket full of blue pills and the wind back underneath his wings.
Oh, Mortimer, would you care to come over and join me for some meatloaf later?
You know I would love to have some of your meatloaf, Eto.
Oh!
This episode of SOF Bad Monkey was brought to you by MASF Industries. That's Massive Industries. Founded and operated by one of this nation's top operators and all-around Bravo Alpha Mike Foxtrot, Mitch, Smashing Frog Aguiar. Mitch's all-natural, plant-based supplements will be sure to get you lean and mean, with products such as the base supplement to the viral health challenge that has taken Instagram by force, Smashing Greens. Stop by their Instagram page at MASF_industries and see if you're up for the Smashing Greens 5, 10, or 12-day challenge, or simply go to their Linktree online store at MASF_industries and check out their entire line of products and bundles. Get massive with at MASF_industry. That's MASF_industries.
Welcome to episode 64 of Soft Bad Monkey, you filthy fucking meat sacks, with your host, Jason Delgado.
Steve Ralston.
And Paulie, the fucking Leatherman, is fucking working today. The bastards. Well, one thing, because he's a fucking cop and the world needs him.
Yeah.
So, today in the studio we have the...
One and only.
One and only.
The original. 101.
Original dun-da-da.
Johnny Payne. Johnny's here with us for a couple of reasons. The first one is because he's got a bunch of fucking tattoos all over his face, and I was instantly attracted to him. I only bang guys that have tattoos on their head. No, that's totally not true.
No, he goes.
I'll get one
Usually
this
it's
year.
Mediterranean, under 5'3". You know.
Well, actually, in prison, I just stapled a picture of a chick to the back of their head, so it didn't matter.
Oh, that's
That
not good.
works.
That's,
Get the Egyptian musk oil. They smell nice.
you like that?
Yeah, it's good.
That and patchouli. Now,
Patchouli's
anyway,
good. Yeah, patchouli.
bunch of different reasons. Johnny's a vet. He's got a bunch of interesting shit going on. We met him out at the Recon Sniper Foundation machine gun shoot. Him and a buddy of his, Sin. So we got Johnny in his studio for a couple reasons. 1, he's a fucking vet. 2, he's working on some cool stuff. 3, Bo's trying to chew his finger off right now. I don't know if you can see that
I'm
on
aroused,
camera.
though. It's
Are you
a
aroused?
fetish of mine.
He's got his fucking his lipstick showing too. So you're gonna have a wet
man.
stick.
Hey!
He does.
He does too.
Does he
That's
really?
gay. Stop that.
Oh shit, he does.
I
Man.
told you.
You weren't kidding.
He's getting
He was
excited.
fucking deep throating that thumb, man. He was getting fucking fired up.
He was.
Bo,
What's
man.
up with you and your dog, Delgado?
Bro,
Jesus.
he has to get it how he lives,
I
man.
think the nature of our relationship just changed, Bo.
Fuck, man.
Bo, you fail to recognize
Hey.
the nature of our association.
That's
Oh, that
right.
little red rocket. Get out of here.
What's up with your lipstick, you fucking
man.
freak show?
Throw him on
He's
the
got
floor.
a hog on him, though. You know?
He does.
I can do this without.
Dirtbag.
I don't wanna touch-
Hey, get
oh,
that
there it
boner.
goes.
He hides
It
it.
just
Get
retracted.
out of there.
I killed it.
So anyway, Johnny,
You
Yep.
embarrassed me, Bo.
you're interesting on a bunch of levels. One of the main ones is you got 22 published pieces of work out there,
Yeah.
but your first one you had published when you were 7. So let's hear a little bit about your upbringing in Pennsylvania. Let's hear a little bit about mom and dad, and that kind of stuff. So basically, your life story, and then you and I have talked a few times.
Sure.
So there'll be a couple avenues that we go down, and then we'll bounce around off the guardrails and see where we're led. So let's hear about that.
So I grew up in a town called Folsom, Pennsylvania, like the prison, Folsom. That's
Right.
the prison.
Did Johnny Cash hang out there?
No, just
No?
Johnny Payne. Just Johnny
Okay,
Payne.
just nice.
But
I like that shit.
yeah,
Nope, just Johnny Payne.
yeah, just Johnny Payne. That's all you need, really.
Right.
But no, man, it's Folsom, Pennsylvania. It's in Ridley Township.
Right.
Ridley's famous for a couple of reasons, and it's in Delaware County. Delaware County is situated outside of Philadelphia County. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows Philadelphia, so it's common for Delco people when they're talking to someone from another state or whatever, say, "Oh, I'm from Philly." I don't say I'm from Philly. I'm from Delco. I'm proud of that. Nothing against Philadelphia except like a half a dozen things, but
Right.
but yeah, Delco's its own animal. It was kind of settled by a lot of organized crime figures. A lot
Nice.
of people
I like
that.
it. I like
It's
it
kinda-
more already.
It's kind of like where anybody with any kind of money wants to live outside of the city. You can park places. It's pretty cool. You know what I mean? You can
Section parking?
Yeah, it's a shitload of culture. You know, a lot of great food. All this anything you can do in the city, except you can actually like park your car. It's pretty fucking cool. You know. So yeah, I mean that's Delco. Grew up there. My dad. You were saying about mom and dad. Both awesome people. Both still alive. They live next door to me at this point.
That's cool.
He was a World War II vet. The house I grew up in, he lived next door to me. Carl.
Your grandpa.
No. So
No.
this was a vet that lived in the house next door when I was growing up, and he was awesome. He was kind of like extended family. He died actually 3 days before I came home from Afghanistan, so I missed out on seeing him. But actually buried my CIB with him when he went away, so it was pretty cool. But
Oh, so you got to attend his funeral?
yeah, I made the funeral, but I missed him.
So did you put the CIB on his suit?
No, I just put it in the hole with him, basically.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't have my original one that I was pinned with. I just, you know.
That's gangster.
Well,
Yeah,
and dude,
he was the
and not
man.
only that, and if you're listening, you don't know what a fucking CIB is. Why don't you tell us what a CIB is, Johnny?
CIB is a combat infantry badge. That's the big one in the Army. It's the
And you get that how?
being in combat.
Right.
CIB orders say engaged in active ground combat.
Right.
For mine.
That's a fucking thing.
Yeah, it's so I had an EIB. The EIB is the expert infantry badge. When I was in, that's a 32 infantry tasks and all this kind of stuff. It's an interesting story with that, but I got that, and that's the CIB is essentially the same badge but with a wreath around it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was what I put in the hole with Carl. He was good, but he was a
Sorry to interrupt. One of the Rangers I went through fucking jump school with a leg ranger,
Yeah.
and he had a fucking CIB. So before we went up to get our fucking jump wings on, he sewed his fucking CIB on,
Yeah.
so they'd have to put his jump wings on underneath it, just
pretty cool.
just to fuck with everybody. It
Yeah,
was
man.
fucking awesome.
yeah, that's what it's about, man.
Yeah.
But the CIB is like the big one. You know, it
Yeah.
was the big one for me. When I went in, it was rare to see dudes with CIBs. You
Right.
know, I mean, there just weren't that many. All the guys were Mogadishu mob dudes that had
Yeah,
them.
we went around the same time, and when I went in, I remember that to see a combat proven Marine or
Yeah.
soldier was rare. And
Yeah, it was a
yeah,
big deal. I mean, with drill sergeants and shit like that, for a guy to have an EIB and jump wings or Pathfinder, or, you know, air assault, you know, whatever. Shit like
Air
that.
assault, son.
Or,
If it flies, it fucking dies.
But I mean, when you saw like there was always like the one drill sergeant or whatever that had the CIB, and you were like, oh, that's the bad motherfucker. You know?
Right.
And he's done some black ops shit. You know what I mean? But
Now you got little fucking PFCs and shit running around.
yeah, everybody's got them. Everybody's got them. Well, and it's you know, it's a controversial subject, but the EIB, CIB, the way it was issued before, you used to actually have to be engaged in active ground combat, which is what it says on my CIB orders. And then it started by unit. Like if your unit was in theater during it, you would get that. And so it used to be common for dudes to go overseas or be deployed in an area, and the unit would come back, and only a handful of dudes would have CIBs.
Oh, because they had to literally
They had to be
engaged.
engaged. Yeah.
Yeah, with us, it's you're engaged by enemy fire.
Sure.
So if you're in combat theater and you're engaged by enemy fire,
Yeah.
So dudes fucking
So it
would
was-
take
yeah.
convoys just to fucking get there.
So the
combat action.
criteria was a lot more strict before, and now it's just common if you go, you know, you get it, and not knocking anybody that got one that way or whatever, but it's just but the EIB there was a lot. I think that the people got away from the EIB. They didn't try for it because they already had a CIB. You can't wear both. But with the EIB, it was 32 tasks, and it was, I always thought it was a great thing, and it was a 12-mile road march at the end, the time, day-night land nav, and all these different skills that you had to do, everything first aid, hand grenades, fucking you name it. And I got mine true blue, no no-goes.
Nice.
You can get, like that was, and I wasn't even supposed to test for it because I got into the unit when they had already spent 3 weeks of prep and basically convinced them to let me do it and got it. So I was proud of that one too. But yeah, I mean, how I got on that, the guy that who I buried my CIB with, he lived in the house that I currently live in. It's the house next door to my parents. So
Is his spirit in there?
I think so. Sometimes he watches me. Sometimes in the shower and shit. It's weird. But,
Yeah, that's all right. Only when
I never
you're,
got that vibe from him when he was alive. He was a
only
great
when
man.
you're pulling on it feverishly. I'm
No,
hoping.
he's just
Yeah.
looking out for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Just
that's
can't get the shampoo in your eyes and you're vulnerable. He's like, I got your back, dog.
Right. He's making sure that he's.
Do you,
know,
you don't?
he's
Do you have a?
covered.
Do you have a shower gun?
Of course.
Okay, good.
Of course.
Just checking.
Yeah. That brought up, that was an interesting topic with people that would visit my house.
Right.
Kind of the strategic placement of weapons throughout, and the fucking kid's lunchbox that's fastened in the
shower?
area.
Yeah.
The toilet topper cabinet, all the different various
And then they
places.
start fighting, like when they go use your toilet and shit, they said, I'll take a dump, and they're just looking around like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah,
There's a-
exactly.
Machete behind the toilet paper?
There's a buddy of mine, and sorry to interrupt. There's a buddy of mine is a Afghanistan and Iraq vet, Army guy, former Green Beret contractor. I would go to his house, and he'd have a fucking 45 with a fucking round in the chamber with the fucking safety on and the fucking hammer back. So I would go around and fucking empty all of his shit, but you had to go through a doorman.
That's
Through
a
a-
condition too, by the way.
Through a doorman, and then through a fucking gate to get to his fucking place. And he had a fucking dog. So I'd be like, bro, why the fuck you have all these loaded weapons fucking around? He's like, dude, you need to quit fucking with my shit. I'm like, bro, fuck you. You need to fucking put the shit away. You know, somebody's gonna fucking come in here and not know what the fuck's going on and cab somebody. And he goes, what if the fucking shit goes down?
Gotta be ready, man.
Well, just fucking barricade some shit and give yourself some time to hit the selector level, dude. What the fuck?
Anyway, so sorry to interrupt, but that's a funny story. Go
Get a
ahead.
bigger lock.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I would say I traveled all over the world. Ended up moving 25 feet away from my parents. You know, but you know, they're both great people. My dad is, I always say, he's the greatest man I ever knew. As corny as that sounds, but he really is. He's purely good. You know, I always say I'm very, very different from him. You know,
Yeah.
My grandfather, his dad was a maniac. He was a wild man. He was a bit of a gangster, and my dad was the oldest of 7 kids. And I'm named after my grandfather, and then I named my son after my dad. But my dad was basically got all of the good of my pop, but you know, he's just purely good. I always say he's like the closest thing to Jesus. You know what I
Right.
mean? He's just, I don't think he's still got like his lunch money from when he was a kid. He saved everything. He's like,
Wow.
he's just the man. He's great. And
But
so
you're fucking starkly white, Johnny. Jesus was a black dude.
that's what they say. I don't know.
Right. I know.
I don't know.
I mean, we
I know a
weren't.
couple dudes named Jesus. none
We
of them
weren't
white,
banging
but-
or nothing, but that's, you know, he was born in that area, and they're predominantly, you know, darker. Just
Well,
saying.
hey, it is what
Whatever.
It is, man.
No,
He
it's
was
just, I'm not
also an
throwing
alien.
dirt at anyone. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you know, you really don't know, man.
You really don't know. I wasn't there.
But yeah, he's.
My Jesus wears a tuxedo T-shirt, so it says I'm formal, but I'm also here to party.
That's
I'd say you gotta keep your options open that way. You know what I mean? It's fucking.
dear 8 pound 6 ounce baby Jesus.
You gotta be ready, ready for whatever.
Whatever.
But yeah, I mean, they parents are great. I had an older sister. You know, that was it, sibling wise. My dad is in the plumbing and heating business. My grandfather was, so grew up in that. The neighborhood was all Irish Italian. You know, the Irish was actually the minority. I grew up predominantly surrounded by Italians. And there's half a dozen languages that I can kind of get by with, largely because of environments I was in, and Italian being one of them. But yes, I mean, that was, you know, growing up, that was what it was. My mom, she was a stay-at-home mom, which was great. It was the norm back then. Everybody in the neighborhood, everybody's mom was home. You know, you fell off your bike, there was a mom in the window cooking dinner that would
And
come
so-
out and patch you up.
No,
you
that
know.
your shit was getting beat. You're getting beat by a
I
couple
got-
of moms.
Absolutely. I was just telling my daughter that last night that, you know, you didn't fuck around. I mean, if I was acting up down the street, you know, so-and-so's mom would
You're
beat the
getting
shit
2
out of me.
beatings before you
Right.
get home.
Right. That was what it was, you know? So
Yeah.
it was a different time, man. It was the 80s. It was great. Growing up in the 80s was the shit.
Yeah.
So much better
Music
than
was
now.
awesome, dude.
Yeah, fuck, everything was. man.
It's similar to fucking the close knit Puerto Rican fucking neighborhoods, right? You fuck up at somebody's house, you're gonna get 2 or 3 beatings before you
yeah.
get home.
Yeah.
It's like a gauntlet.
It don't
Get
exist
back to the
nowadays,
house.
but it was like that, man. It was
It should be like that still.
Just that the idea of community, man, neighborhood.
Bullshit community.
Yeah, exactly. And same with the police. You know, the police lived in which still to this day in Ridley, you have to live in Ridley to be a Ridley cop, which I wholeheartedly endorse. There's a lot of neighboring boroughs, townships, municipalities, whatever, where you don't have to live there, and I don't think that that's good. I mean, juvenile officer when I was growing up lived 3 blocks up the street, was a volunteer fireman with my dad.
Yeah, so he knew all you knuckleheads.
Yeah, that's it. You know, we went around and if you were acting up, I mean,
Beat
everybody
your
knew
daddy's
everybody.
ass, I'll beat your ass.
Yeah, that basically that sort of thing.
Irish.
That was
Well,
pretty
but
good
it-
Irishman.
And the same
Pass for an
thing.
Irishman.
But the same thing that fucking guy caught you drinking and driving. He's gonna make you park your car.
Discretion,
He's
yeah.
gonna beat your ass.
Right.
And then he's gonna give you a ride home, and then he's gonna tell your dad, and your dad's gonna beat your ass. But you're not gonna fucking spend $5,000 on a fucking DUI,
30,000, yeah.
or whatever the fuck it is. Or you're not gonna be locked up in some juvenile detention center. You're gonna go home with a fucking knot on your head, and then your dad's gonna beat your ass.
Exactly.
Right.
So I mean, I was, I had about as good of an upbringing as you can get. I mean, we were described as lower middle class. I tell the story all the time. My dad was actually from a city called Chester. It's the only city in Delaware County, and Chester's just a shithole. It's a ghetto at this point. And used to be it was actually the first capital of Pennsylvania back in the day. And in
Became such a shithole. They said, we gotta move.
yeah, the 50s and 60s, it was kind of like a metropolis. You know what I mean? It was the place to be when you hear the stories. But it really went downhill over the years. So my dad didn't want me and I wasn't even born yet, but he didn't want my
Mom and
my
sister.
mom and my sister to grow up to live there. So he moved to Ridley. He got a house with a double lot, so we had a yard. And I remember in order to get there, he was a big car guy. He had a 72 big block El Camino that he sold. Basically abandoned every aspect of being young, wild, and free to move us into that place. And one of my missions in life is to buy him a fucking 72 big block El Camino and put it in his driveway. But
I like that
That'd be
idea.
awesome.
yeah, that's
That's some shit right there.
absolutely. I there's not a month that goes by that I'm not on eBay Motors finding one. you
Yeah.
know? And but anyway, so yeah, it cost him more than 3 of his paychecks per month just to pay the mortgage on the house. Wow. So that left less than 1 paycheck to pay for everything else.
Yeah.
And but I didn't know any of that. I didn't know any of that until I was much older. And
That's how awesome he was at making that happen.
that was it. I mean, we played ball every day. He'd come home from work and whatever it was, we were playing hockey, whether it was street hockey, whether it was throwing a football, whether it was wiffle ball, whether it was whatever. I mean, I know now as a dad and the demands of like my 5-year-old and, him constantly wanting my attention and wanting to wrestle and fight and all the things that he loves to do. And I'm like, man, my dad busted his ass every day, came home and still did that shit until it was dark with me. And the weekends when he was home, it was always, building something. The things I was fascinated with always used to make me swords. Anything it was a swords, guns, martial arts, and girls, bikini posters, shit like that. From the time I was little.
You have the Farrah Fawcett poster with the sex superimposed in her hair?
Nah,
He strikes me as the Aaliyah poster. You had the Aaliyah poster?
Aaliyah came along a little bit later for me, but I had we were talking Pamela Anderson, Cindy Crawford, shit like that.
What's Aaliyah?
She's a singer that
Yeah,
passed
she
away in
was
an airplane crash.
Was Aaliyah, yeah, but
She's dead now?
Yeah, she was beloved.
yeah, but I'm talking when I was little. So when I was 5, it was actually pretty funny story. My papa gave us a VCR, and it was big shit that we had a VCR, and I learned how to record by pressing record something off a TV. So we had got cable for the first time, and I MTV, and I remember Motley Crue's video for Girls, where they're just riding around on the bikes and going to the strip clubs. Well, I was fascinated with this video, so I recorded that at 5 years old, and of course my parents thought it was fucking hilarious that's what I recorded.
That's
and
awesome.
I wore
they
that.
dug it. They're like,
I
"Oh,
wore that
shit.
fucking tape out, right?
Our son's cool as hell.
It was comical because my dad always tells the story. He said, when you're a kid and your family friends or whatever comes over to the house, you're a little kid, they always ask you, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And I used to tell him I wanted to ride motorcycles and look at girls without their clothes on. And so my dad, that was my exact words. My dad, of course, got the biggest kick out of it. But to this day, he always says, well, you stuck to your guns, John.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you fucking, you really you saw a path and you stuck with it. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, childhood wise was great. You mentioned the being published thing.
At 7.
My mom was she helped out in the library at the elementary school, and so when my sister went to elementary school, I used to go to the library a lot with my mom, just because there was no daycare, no nothing. That was what she volunteered and did. So I learned how to read when I was 3. I was reading and writing at 3, and I was obsessed with books. At the time, I was obsessed with dinosaurs, and I read every book on dinosaurs I could get, and I wanted to be a paleontologist. But I had this idea, because I was around my pop-pop who was digging ditches with a backhoe, and I said I was going to use a backhoe instead of the brushes and shit because it would be quicker. Like that was my brain at the time. That's what I thought. But
well, that's accurate. It would be a hell of a lot.
Yeah, it would be a lot
quicker.
faster. It might not be as
fuck up all the fossils. But
yeah,
it'd be faster.
I wasn't thinking on that.
They messed up already. Yeah.
But basically,
he's fucking 3 years old. Come on.
So they had a program called LEP, Learning Enrichment Program, which was like a gifted thing. It was an experimental thing they were doing at the time. My sister was put in it in 4th grade, and they met in the library. So there was a guy, Dr. Zittarelli, I remember he was a little short guy, that he was like the director of that. He was the one that would work with the gifted kids. So they met in the library. He was fascinated by me because I was like 4 years old at the time, and I'm talking about, Ichthyosaurus and all this kind of stuff and Latin names of dinosaurs. So he had me tested before I started kindergarten for this program and did the IQ test and all that. And so I was the youngest kid in the district history to get put into that program. I actually had a teacher. It was just me, because the other kids were 4th and 5th grade, so they didn't mix me with them. But so elementary school, a lot of it was
because they would have taught you how to drink and smoke and shit.
Yeah. Definitely that would have been the heavy shit.
That would have been it.
So yeah, I mean, that was kind of it. And then elementary school, I was pulled out of school a lot to go to like the ballet or the art museum, shit like that. Just cultural shit and whatever. Just kind of doing that. I remember being in like 2nd grade. I made this giant model of a human heart, and just little things like that stuck out. But I always was encouraged to develop my writing, creative writing. I was really into that, reading. I just read books and wrote little stories and things like that.
So let's hear about the story that you were published, that you had published when you were 7.
Yeah, so that was it was a college, it was like a community college literary journal or something like that, where it was, I was in this program called the Young Authors. I was like the youngest kid in that. And that was over the summer. And it was like a creative writing program you went to, kind of like a camp kind of thing. And so I wrote a story. I believe the one that was published in that was about this turtle detective. And it was pretty badass.
What was his name?
Like fucking Detective Turtle or something. I don't really remember.
It wasn't like Tom Turtle or fucking...
No, there was there was a Tom the Tortoise story that I did because of the fucking kindergarten play that I was in.
Right.
Which I sang into the microphone the whole time.
Right.
They had the whole crew of the kids are singing and doing their thing.
Have you ever seen a turtle penis?
Numerous times, yes.
Okay.
Very, very close up.
No, they're frightening.
Yeah.
It's like a shovel. It's fucking gigantic. It's awesome.
I had several turtles as a kid. That
Right.
was like they were my pets. At one point I had 4.
Right.
And we had one, and the first time I saw a turtle penis, I was probably 6 or 7, and
Right.
saw the act of copulation taking place. Didn't know what I was seeing, and
It's
I
pretty
thought,
fucking violent with turtles.
It's wild, man. They're
fucking
freaks.
awesome.
Turtles are freaks. Dude.
They are too.
I learned a lot from turtles, man. I did. But
You didn't know that? A turtle penis is fucking frightening. It's like a skate, like a stingray. It's fucking crazy.
The extent of my knowledge towards turtle boning is when the drill instructors take your Kevlar and just bang it on the Kevlar. And you ever heard 2 turtles fucking?
Well, they're pretty accurate in there.
That sounds like that.
Yeah, it's accurate as far as.
It sounds like that?
Well, that's like their
So
their whole
not
vibe.
that fast, but it's like
Yeah, it's
Slow
rhythmic.
pounding, 'cause
some
it's a turtle.
shit going on.
Yeah.
That's totally how turtles fuck though. That's how they get down, man. They're
So that's how I do it now.
They're direct.
I don't
Yeah, you got,
as much
you know.
energy. That's I just.
That's what I'm saying. You
That's
gotta
it.
make it count.
I read that somewhere.
It's not about RPMs anymore. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's about efficiency.
I'm just lucky if the Cialis or the Viagra kicks in after the advertised 30 minutes, man. Thank God.
Well, there's shortcuts for that. I'm just
Well, we
saying.
keep
Shit.
Well, we need to
I'll
Shortcuts.
talk later.
we need to quit snorting it.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's
Put it in
that's
my
the
anus.
major shortcut. Well, yeah, you can do that, parachute it, whatever, all that fucking shit, man.
Parachute it. What's that? I like the way,
Boofing.
I like
Put
when
it. You crush it up. Put it in a paper towel or a piece of napkin. Swallow it. Parachute.
in a napkin. Why? In a
Yeah, you
napkin?
just put a piece of or toilet paper.
Why?
Toilet paper.
So it can stay
Parachute.
together while it
Yeah,
goes
you
on
hold
your
it. It
throat.
holds together, but instead of you having to
You don't
break
have to
down
wait
the
for it to
pill.
dissolve.
Why don't you just chew it up and drink water?
Because not everybody's a fucking savage like you, Steve.
Oh,
Well, because actually trying to get into the blood vessels and membranes in your mouth, it gets stuck in your teeth, all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But with the crushed up, you crush it into a fine powder, put it in toilet paper, swallow it, it goes right into that gut and bang.
is that
what I mean?
is that the deal?
That's one way of doing it, yeah.
We were talking
There's,
about drinking.
insufflation is another alternative method. But
Insufflation.
Is that in your butt?
no, that's snorting it.
Definitely sounds like it was a butt thing.
Yeah, well, butt things work too, man.
We were talking about drinking lean and shit, and I was telling Steve how the new kids, I was asking him, what'd you cut it with? Because the new kids use Sprite and all that shit.
Yeah,
He goes,
yeah.
what? Just fucking drink that shit straight
That's
out
it,
the
man.
bottle, bitch.
I had a recipe. One of the Greyskull books I put out, I had a
Fucking gay. Fucking.
I had
We
a
used to
purple
buy that
drink
shit.
recipe. And
We fucking buy that shit. It was brawn in fucking Japan.
Yeah.
We buy like fucking the little cases of it. There's like 12 of them. Fucking cool. Fucking pound that shit down and go drinking.
That's-
fucking mix it. Mix it with what? Oh, fuck.
Yeah, man.
Dude, that's fucking. I'm disturbed. The kids these days. If you're gonna fucking do drugs, do drugs.
yeah,
Fucking halfway shit. Fucking
Seriously.
Nancy's. What participation trophies fucked us.
exactly, man.
Anyway, so you published a book at fucking 7. I know you
Well,
got.
it was a short story. It was published in
Okay,
a
pardon me.
collection, yeah.
But still, that's pretty fucking good shit at 7 years old. I know you got 22 pieces published now.
Yeah.
So what are your best-selling titles?
Well, all-time bestseller is it's in its 3rd edition now. It's something called the Grayskull LP.
Right.
And I hate that title.
Why?
I always hated that title. Well, it's short for Grayskull Linear Progression.
Okay.
And what happened was I started a website years ago, strengthvillain.com.
Uh-huh.
And so I had a forum, a really active forum at the time. And that was after working with a guy named Mark Ripito that had the starting strength program. So I basically kind of went in.
And Mark Ripito, he's one of the guys that started CrossFit, correct?
No. Mark Ripito, well, he was involved in CrossFit, but he was the strength guy, basically.
Right.
He wrote Starting Strength, which is one of the biggest books on the subject that's out there. And I
Okay.
worked hand in hand with him for quite a while. But there were a lot of gaps, a lot of holes in his methods. And, I mean, I learned a lot from him. I won't take that away from him. But, I adapted a lot of things. It evolved a lot of things and was getting better results, particularly in resetting, where someone's hitting a wall and the process and getting back up. So I started getting, I was originally on his forum, on his website, and then I kind of had a falling out, and I built a website over the weekend because I knew I was going to get fucked out of that. And so I had my own forum ready to go. But I was getting a lot of questions about training. That was one of the things that went south between he and I, is that I was supposed to stay in my lane and do nutrition. And but people were asking me for it, so I was giving it to them, and then they were liking it, enjoying it, and rocking with it. But so anyway, Grayskull LP, it was started as a thread on the forum that had like 1,000 some posts on it or whatever. I don't remember at the time, but it really took off. And I had a seminar at my gym, and a guy, it was a recon Marine actually, a little short redheaded recon Marine that was clowning me on my sneaks at the time, and I was fucking with him. He was a good dude, but he told me that I had to put that out in book form. And I was like, yeah, maybe I will or whatever, because I didn't really intend to do that and package it that way. He's like, man, you got to put that out. He's like, you got to put it out as a book. I did, and I made like it was between 11 and 12,000 in the first 2 days off of that book. So
Wow.
there was a lot of push for that. And then I came out with a 2nd edition a few years later, and then a 3rd edition beyond that. And now, in all honesty, it's time for a new one. There's a lot
Right.
that's changed since, so there'll probably be a 4th edition coming out.
Excellent. So if you can, give me a quick rundown of your other titles, and then after that, I want to go into your military service.
Sure.
And then after your military service, I want to jump back into Grayskull and some of the activities that you participated in and helping individuals break through whatever barriers they thought that they had. And then I want to talk about some of the tattoos on your fucking head and on your neck and some of your participation and some of the organizations you've been involved in. So let's
Definitely.
hear about some of your titles.
Excuse me.
No, go ahead.
So-
Cough all you want, man. Jason's going to edit the fuck out of this
man.
shit anyway.
I'll probably just leave it in.
Tuberculosis, man. It's
all
fucking
right.
The
bitch.
sound of cough.
But so the first book I wrote was kind of happened in the same way the LP did, which was in response to demand. So
Right.
I had on the forum, I was doing a lot of coaching,
Right.
giving consultations over the phone at the time. And one of the things I would recommend was when I would get asked about the conditioning element, because most of these people were I had them on a basic strength training program or progression, and they asked about adding conditioning in. So I would tell them, a lot of these people were coming from a CrossFit background. So I'd tell them, just keep it short, do like a 10-minute, like a couplet, they called it in CrossFit, where it was 2 movements, just a high intensity thing. You do that like twice a week just to keep your conditioning up while you're doing it. So people started asking like, well, give me an example of a workout I can do, right? So, I was whatever. And then I was talking to a client that constantly wanted me to feed him the workouts essentially. So I decided, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I was like, I'm going to write down about a dozen of these, put it in a PDF, and then I'm going to just give that to my clients so they know what to do. And this guy was like, no, I did that to him. I sent it to him, and he's like, dude, you should make this a book and sell it. And I hadn't done that ever before. So I said, okay. So I ended up doing 50 of them, and it was called 50 Greyskull approved conditioning workouts for the modern Viking. That's what it was, the first book.
I like it.
So I put that out. A friend of mine that was trained at Grayskull, I took a bunch of pictures of him doing the movements, and there was a tutorial on how to build one of the Grayskull sandbags that we used to use and all this kind of shit. And I threw that up there, same deal. I made like $7,000 on that in a couple of days, and I was like, holy shit, I gotta write more books.
You keep saying Greyskull, so give us a quick, maybe a 1 or 2 minute definition of what Greyskull is.
So Grayskull started, obviously I was a big He-Man fan as a kid,
Right.
So that's where the name came from. It was the home of the bad guys. I was a Skeletor fan, not a He-Man fan really. But so when I got out of the Army, I kind of didn't know what I was doing, well, for probably 15 years. But,
Right.
But really I was back to training bodybuilding and stuff like that. I was kind of in that environment. I had a friend of mine that was competing in bodybuilding, so I was going to the gym, I was working out. But after a little while, I lost it. Like, I didn't want to do that. It was just, wasn't anything I was into. And so for about a year, I didn't train at all. And then I was like, just getting stir crazy and not doing anything. And one day, I just kind of had this little revelation. I was like, man, I want to train like I did while I was in. And I think I was telling you before, Steve, I took a piece of 6-inch PVC pipe, filled it with crushed stone, capped the ends, made a log. And a friend of mine and I at 6 a.m., we would do log PT, or simulated log PT. And I know you know about log PT. A little bit. And so that was the thing. And that was Lucy. We named the log Lucy. And that was after the inflatable sheep sex toy that I carried on multiple jumps.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But so anyway, we started with Lucy, and then we'd go on runs in the morning carrying the log, set the log down, do push-ups at the stop signs, all that kind of shit. And I was just fired up. I loved doing it. I used to like getting up and doing that before I went to work. I felt good, felt like I was doing something again. Kind of evolved from there. Ended up building this whole apparatus in my backyard, a pull-up tower, and with a climbing rope and rings and everything. And my dad and I built it out of black pipe, like gas pipe, and cut and thread all the pipe and set it in concrete and everything. Built dip bars the same way. Built a big wooden platform like a deck.
Does that still exist?
Yeah, it's still there. We call it the ruins.
The ruins?
Yeah,
Fuck
the
that
ruins.
shit. You need to re-energize the ruins.
Well, I still hit it. It's in the backyard, so I still go out there and do it. But that was the original Grayskull, was in my yard, and so that was it. And then I kind of developed like a little crew, guys that would come over and train, and never really intended it to, but it just kind of evolved into that. Then I started getting like donation. People would throw money at it and whatever, and so that was the origins of Grayskull. Basically, was my yard.
And that was just a reference to the individuals that hung out there, and kind of the workout schedule and the kind of workout vibe, the motivation, kind of the whole spirit behind everything.
Right, and we started, like, we made, the first T-shirts I made were a stencil, a poster board cut out with an X-Acto knife, spray painted. You know what I mean? It was It was just for us. It was just like you had a Grayskull shirt if you trained at Grayskull.
Pre-CrossFit?
Yeah. So it was. So that was. I was doing these things, and that's how I got involved in CrossFit. Actually, I actually went to a certification seminar thing in Minnesota, which was Pavel Satsaline, the Russian kettlebell guy, became an RKC. Was called an RKC, and at the time you had to do a snatch test, and you had to weigh in and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty wild at the time. But I met a couple of guys there that worked at a personal training gym in a kind of posh neighborhood. I think I was telling you about him, the Stolen Valor SEAL guy and all that.
Fucking Nancy.
So anyway, I ended up go in there, and then that was another evolution of Greyskull. But when I got into the kettlebell thing, I got one of Pavel's books. There was a picture in there that was attributed to CrossFit, whatever, and it said, I think CrossFit.com, whatever was the original site, obviously. I logged onto there, went on there, and saw, this is back when it was just a workout of the day and like a picture of Greg Glassman's dog before it got all gay and shit, And so I saw.
And when you say gay, you mean not like gay, because gay's good. We're happy with gay dudes, but when some people think about
gay and homosexual are radically different.
What you're talking about, like violent leather boy gay. You're not talking about like the guy who's behind the counter.
Aggressive.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about. Well, you're not talking about like the fucking artists and the fucking interior designers and the food critics. Yeah. You're talking about like aggressive fucking leather boy. Yeah. I'm gonna bang you to death gay.
The fucking,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, exactly. Just want to be clear.
Is it hot in here?
All that talk, Jason's fucking worked up.
All that talk
Where's
of
Bo?
leather, jeez.
Jason's getting mulch over here. I'm telling you, blood flow below the waist.
I put my assless chaps on
Bo's
here.
lipstick will be back out now.
Yeah, don't get him started.
No, he'll be banging Jason's leg ferociously in a minute.
But yeah, I mean, the CrossFit thing I found through one of Pavel's books, found the website, and then I started watching the videos and shit, and I was really impressed with a lot of the stuff. It was a little Santa Cruz gym, little garage. Greg Glassman had, especially the women, he had some women doing really crazy things. I ended up meeting all them at some, down the road. But
and crazy things, you're talking about exercise related.
Yeah, I mean, he's into some crazy shit, don't get me wrong.
Just want to be clear,
I later discovered some of the crazy shit, ancillary crazy shit that went on in that environment quite a bit. But there was... I was kind of intrigued by what they had going on. It was really kind of a Spartan thing, and they were turning out some really fucking awesome athletes and some impressive feats. So started following that, and then they had the first ever certification event that was not at the Santa Cruz thing. It was on the East Coast. It was in Pittsburgh, and I went to that. I drove to Pittsburgh and got certified, met Greg Glassman, and so I was very early in my involvement with CrossFit. But that was that happened during Grayskull. I was already doing Grayskull. In fact, that's how I got involved with Glassman, is when I was there. I showed him pictures of the yard and all that. And so we kind of had parallel stories.
It's like you almost reached the same...
Yeah, we were doing something. Before, I was doing what I was doing without being aware of what he was doing out there. And that's why we meshed when I met, because it was like, damn, dude, this is what I'm about. He was all about it. He saw the yard. He's like, fuck yeah, that's what this is about. So it was totally different then.
That all happened after your military career.
Yes.
And you're in the military from when to when?
2000 to 2003.
2000 and 2003. Yeah. And you had mentioned to me the experience that you had. You came out of the shower and your platoon was watching... Wait,
which one?
No,
there's a lot of stories that start that way.
Not the cross-cultural gangbang story. The second plane crashing into the tower story.
Yeah. So you want me to go there?
Yeah,
9/11.
please.
Okay, so 9/11, we were my unit. We were the what was called DRF-1, Division Ready Force 1. I was at 82nd Airborne at the time, and DRF-1 was a 1-hour recall. It was essentially the QRF for the nation. And now we just had the attack, or the Trump's response to the...
Soleimani got fucking smoke checked, right?
Exactly, right? So in response to the embassy attack, we saw there was 100 Marines were sent immediately, and then 500 82nd Airborne paratroopers mobilized to go there.
They're actually bouncing around on a C5 right now en route.
There you go. So you got these guys, they're from 2504. My unit was 3504. 2504 would have been the DRF-1 unit at the time. So that's what I was on at 9/11.
Right.
Okay. Just for reference. So we were understood 18 hours anywhere in the world, wheels up, so, and you did the drills and the call outs and all that stuff. So, you always, when you were on 1-hour recall status, it was a pain in the ass because you couldn't, guys couldn't go get fucked up, or you couldn't go that far, so you could venture out or whatever, but you had to be able to be back in an hour with all your shit, DRF-1 packing list ready to go. And so we were on DRF-1, and I was in the shower. I came back after PT, and it was Tuesday morning. Obviously, I'm walking down the hallway, old World War II barracks, in my towel. And
with an erection?
Total erection. I mean, that was normal. That was I'd taken care of it in the shower. Or actually, another guy did
priapism at that age.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. Excellent vocabulary right there. So anyway, I'm walking down the hallway, and there was kind of a crowd in one of my guys' rooms, and so we went in there, and everybody's crowded around the TV, and You know, it was totally normal to see like somebody had a VHS or the fucking gangbang video from the weekend or whatever. So
whatever.
I didn't know what was on the TV. So we go in, we look on the TV, and it was, you know, the shot of the tower, Tower 1. It was, you know, smoking and all that. And they were talking about what was happening. And, you know, as we were sitting there talking, then that's when the second tower, we talked about that everyone
Right.
says, I remember when the first one got hit. No, you don't.
No.
Nobody saw it.
You don't. Nobody saw it.
Unless you were in New York City, you didn't see it. But
Unless you were the poor bastards watching the plane coming at you super fast.
right, exactly. So anyway, you know, in that moment, it was wild. It was really surreal. It was one of the most memorable moments during that period of my life, or any period of my life, because we were that unit that was up.
It's like
you know?
shit just got fucking real,
Yeah.
fellas.
And I remember it was dead silent. And one of the guys just said, "It looks like we're going to war tonight, boys," or something like that. And I said it was like the locker room scene any given Sunday. Everybody just went ape shit. It was yeah, I get chills every time I tell the story, because it just it was one of the most raw emotional fucking experience I've ever had. And you know, they took our phones. I had the old, you know,
Right.
flip phone thing. Took our phones. It was chaos for a while, and you know, we couldn't contact anyone. We couldn't do anything, and you know, we were anticipating going that night. And we went to Green Ramp, which is at Pope Air Force Base, neighbors Fort Bragg there, and you know, staging to go out, had chaplain briefing, the whole deal. We were going to go, and eventually got a stand down. 275 went, and some other units went as part of that initial wave, and they were talking about us being QRF for the stateside in the event of another attack or whatever response, and nobody really knew what the hell was going to happen at that point. So that was that, man. But that was 1 year to the day. I left my house on 9/11 of 2000. To go in the Army, and 9/11 of 2001, I was celebrating a year. You know, I'm getting done PT. I'm like, man, I got 1 year in, and then bang, that happened. So it was wild.
How long after that till you were actually on the ground in Afghanistan?
That would have been, obviously that was September. I went then December of 02.
Right.
So just over a year.
Right.
So it was OEF 3,
Right.
third wave.
And you were in Afghanistan for how long?
Just shy of 8 months.
Just shy of 8
Yeah.
months. What unit was that?
3rd of 504th, 82nd.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how was that experience?
It was awesome, man. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. It was, you know, basically everybody in the room's been overseas, so it's,
Right.
you know, it's has its ups and downs, and a lot of kind of mixed emotions. You know, especially in the beginning, you're missing home. You're fucking. I'm not gonna lie, I was fucking scared. Of course, everybody's scared. You know,
If you say you're not,
And,
you're lying.
Shit goes
So-
down. You get a little religious.
yeah, man. Yeah, you start praying to everybody. I was checking the boxes, man.
Whoever's
Buddha,
listening.
fucking, you name it. Yeah, exactly. And well, that was unique too. I mean, that was the praying to anybody, man. That was something every jump I ever did, especially after I told you I broke my neck in 2002, a Chinook jump.
Right. Let's hear
And,
about that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So,
Just go there.
well, we had a program at the unit. It was called SPJP, which was Saturday Proficiency Jump Program, I believe. And basically, what it was Hollywood jump, which means no combat
Nothing.
equipment, you know.
No, nothing.
And just a Hollywood jump on a Saturday morning. But basically, what they were for is the brass that needed to stay on jump status had to jump
Had
quarterly.
to requal, yeah.
Yeah, so they had the bleachers out at the drop zone, and the family would come out and watch, you know, Major Dad jump or whatever, and you know, it was just a happy horse shit type of thing. And but we would get, when I say we, like the guys in my unit, like you would get volunteered for those if you
Voluntold.
fucked up or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They had to fill out a chalk, so it's like you're jumping Saturday. So I ended up with a lot of jumps through the SPJ piece because I was constantly getting into some shit or whatever. So it was so I had an SPJP. It was me and one of my best friends at the time. We had a kid that was on his what they call his cherry blast, and that was his first jump in division. So he was a 5-jump dude out of jump school at the time. Had just come to the unit. So anytime you jumped your first time in the unit, you had to have like a senior person with you or whatever, kind of buddy program thing, and walk you through it. And it was kind of like a ceremonial thing, whatever. It was informal, but so I had that kit for this SPJP, and we went and you know, got on the jump. It was a CH-47. It was about 1,000 feet. Nothing crazy Hollywood about there was like no wind. It was perfect. It was like the easiest jump you could do. We were looking to hit the thing, recover our chutes, get the fuck out of there, go eat, and then enjoy the weekend. You know, that was basically what I was doing. And So exited. That nothing was crazy, and then this kid I ended up doing what's called a sky shark to me, which is where you guys, I'm sure,
Came underneath you.
Yeah. So the air that was in my chute was in his all of a sudden, and yours collapses. So I kind of
It's an asshole move.
yeah. But in all honesty, it was not. It certainly wasn't intentional.
Right.
The kid was not nearly proficient enough to do that on purpose.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was a straight accident. No malice, no intent
What
to
do
fucking
you do?
kill
Take
me.
a hard right or a hard left right underneath you?
He was spinning a little bit. I mean,
Right.
he had a little
At a twist in his riser.
Yeah,
so
and
instead
so
of
he-
bicycling out, he fucking
Right, that's why I
instead
said
of
he-
reaching up and pulling down and bicycling,
Exactly.
he fucking grabbed a riser.
yeah. I think he was just in panic mode, like
Right.
like I was on probably the first 20 jumps. You know what I mean? And I was never
Right.
fucking good at it. There's very few people that are actually good parachutists.
Right.
But yeah. So he came underneath me, and my chute
Flying
collapsed.
Flying squirrels are good parachutists.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
I would imagine. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have any flying squirrel DNA.
Did I ever tell you what a flying squirrel is? A flying squirrel is when you choke somebody out and you put them in the head scissors and you stretch your nutsack over their forehead. That's a flying squirrel.
gotta
Okay,
try
anyway,
that.
so he fucking land sharked you. You land on top of his chute, right?
Yeah, so I hit his chute. Well,
Right.
if you've had that experience, you know that chute is not silky and soft when you hit it when it's full
No.
of air, right? So I,
kind of like hitting a fucking a hood of a car.
yeah, exactly. So it's like
Right.
you bounce off of this fucking thing and slide and deploy my reserve. My reserve just fucking dribbled
Noodles
out
out,
like
yeah.
just limp dick style. And so I'm fighting, trying to get some
Some air in that bitch, yeah.
And basically, I got to a point like I think I got a little bit of air, slowed myself down a little. I was at about treetop level, and I don't remember anything after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just blacked out. And
Now your brain does that because your brain knows it's going to hurt. It's like, yeah, we're going to go to sleep now.
I really, honestly, I remember looking and seeing the treetops, and then nothing.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything until I was in the back of a Humvee, sitting upright, just like this, not immobilized, not nothing. And that apparently what had happened is like always happens. I had no wind or no help and couldn't pull a slip, didn't get anything to inflate. But once I hit the ground, then it was like fucking Hurricane Katrina.
Right.
And so I got dragged
yeah.
dragged on my face about 300 meters,
Nice.
according to the people that witnessed it. And so my face was like, hamburger. It was,
Right.
no skin or whatever. And so a couple of like E2 medics or whatever threw me in the back of this Humvee and took me to the aid station. And these things weren't really well staffed because it was just like a little
Right.
exhibition thing. So there was nobody really in the aid station that knew what the hell they were doing. There was one kid, and I vaguely remember him taking Bactine and starting to clean the wounds on my face. So I kind of did like a face smash, like just like go the fuck away. And at that time, my friend came in on the bird behind me, and he had heard what had happened. So he came to the aid station, and he sees me sitting up, and there's Bactine on my face.
Right.
So his question to me was, "Are you good?" And
Your response is, fuck yeah, let's get out of here.
I said, I'm good. And he took that to mean seeing the Bactine and all that. Oh, they treated you. They're releasing you. Oh,
Right.
thank God you're not dead. You good to go? All right, let's get the fuck out of here. Let's go
Right.
party. So he puts me in his car, right? They had went to go get like a PA or somebody to
Right.
fucking come look at me. Puts me in his car, drives me back to the barracks, helps me up into my room. I told him, yeah, man, I'll check in with you later. He lived off post. He was one of the few guys that did. He had just gotten married. And so I went into the bed and fell asleep. And then Monday, it was like Monday. I didn't show up to formation on Monday morning. This was Saturday morning, by the way.
Right.
That happened. So Monday morning, I didn't show up to formation. And it was about noon or so. And they came into my room and fucking yelling and carrying on, that they thought I was drunk or went AWOL or some shit.
Right.
And I couldn't get up, couldn't move. And I had been asleep since Saturday morning. So basically, I later discovered that, like, yeah, you were in a coma.
Right.
You weren't just sleeping. You just happened to wake up.
That's why they say don't go to sleep if you have
Yeah,
a
don't go to
concussion.
sleep with a concussion, right? So I had a massive concussion. And so they took me out of there, took me down to the aid station. They took one look at me and were like, send him to Womack. Womack was the hospital there at Bragg. And they ended up doing some tests and shit and said I had broke my neck.
Right.
And so it was C2, C3, high cervical,
I just
cardio.
C2, C3,
Yeah,
I
man.
blew out the cartilage in between.
That's cardiopulmonary territory, man. That's
Had
no
to fuse
joke.
them, yeah.
Yeah. So
Nuts.
so that happened, and so I was in a hard collar, and then later a soft collar and all that kind of shit. But that was that. The dudes, the guy that sky sharked me ended up getting fucked up really bad by the dudes in my unit. Which
Yeah.
I felt bad about that because it wasn't,
Did you accept your demise on your way down?
Yeah, I mean
Have that
the
warm, calm feeling. I
the
guess it's
last-
go time.
when I said about not remembering anything at treetop, I would just remember, as odd as it says, just I remember giving up. I remember just
Here it is.
this is it.
Yeah, this is how it goes down.
And it was the weirdest feeling.
Shit after that is different.
And I remember that moment and then nothing, and and then when I came to in the
Aid
Humvee,
station, yeah.
Well, in the back of the
Setting
Humvee,
up,
bouncing
mind you,
around.
they didn't put you on
It
a
was
fucking
that's what was so
board.
surreal, and obviously I had the head trauma, so I wasn't really in my mental state. But I thought I was like,
Neither were the medics that were.
I thought that was,
I thought you were dead.
I thought I was dead. I thought that was like, this is chapter 2 now. This is
is
wherever
hell.
the fuck I'm at.
Fuck.
Oh my God, we
Yeah.
wear a uniform in the house.
Yeah,
Fuck
so-
I gotta spend eternity in the back of a fucking
was-
Humvee.
I got to spit shot my boots.
It was
I knew I should have fucked that nun.
exactly, man, exactly. Well, the first one was all right, but the one that just liked anal, that was a little pushing
That's
it.
all right.
Yeah, but the so I mean that was the neck break story, man. I ended up jumping again. I was offered a lot of shit, there was as far as getting out,
Right.
or reclassing,
Right.
something like that.
Told him
but-
what rhymes with fuck you.
exactly,
Right.
basically. So
I'm going
I-
to keep this job. Thank you.
I declined a lot of that, and that's why I missed Ranger School.
Right.
I had a Ranger School date when that happened, so I never got my tab.
Right?
There were 2 reasons. Well, I had 2 class dates, and the first one, 9/11 happened,
Right?
so everything was frozen.
Right, of course.
And then they were going to let a handful of people that had packets existing or whatever go, and then the neck injury happened, so that's why tab never materialized. But
You talk about that acceptance. Did you experience that type of acceptance when you're going into combat?
not on the same level. I mean, there were times. It's harder to describe. I'm sure that obviously you have a lot of experience in the same kind of arena, and and then some. But
I'm not a fucking combat vet, so no, I don't have experience in that arena. Jason does. I got out in '98, so I started contracting in '03. So it was actually being a combat vet and an active duty Navy SEAL never happened. So
well, I mean, I know that's a semantic point.
I'm just-
How many contracts did you
Right.
fucking do,
No.
Steve? Come on. And then you just magically stopped being a SEAL when you got out somehow. I mean, come on, forgot everything.
Former.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, so
It's
But-
like you can't go into the. God, I just want to go into it.
I'm a fucking fat old man.
something like that. But yeah, so
Similar acceptance, though, right?
yes and no. I mean, that one was so clear.
That's like that's a legit. Like your brain will tell you that's a legit. You're crossing that line. Like
Yeah.
not many come back from that line that you cross.
Right.
So that's where that warm, calm. Fuck it, it's go time.
Right, I mean
Once
that-
yeah, but when you're in a high tense situation like a firefight and you may see yourself pinned down and shit. I mean that's not an acceptance of death. That's different. That's a fear, but I gotta keep my shit together.
I think one of the best books I ever read on that subject. You ever read The Gift of Fear by Gavin Becker? Really good book. Gavin Becker's
I
really.
love the title, by the way.
Yeah, it's great. It's
see
really
things-
great.
I
So
see
I mean,
things like that.
just I mean, it's been a year since I read it, but I think it starts out and he was a boy and he had a situation with like a intruder or home invasion. I might be getting this totally wrong. We're going back probably 20 years since I read it, but he like escaped, or it was a woman or whatever. I know there was a story involving him, but there was one with a woman and the guy came into the house, whatever, and she was complying and doing all this stuff, but then she heard the kitchen drawer open and she got up and all of a sudden had all this strength and got out of there, and she didn't remember how she was able to get out of that environment, but that in dissecting it after the fact, it was like the
Fight or flight.
yeah, and it was the idea that the kitchen drawer opened,
She knew
which
what was
is
in
he's
there.
looking for a fucking
Yeah.
knife. He's going to kill me, so now I got to fucking go. So the idea is that fear is a gift. Fear is empowering. That fight or flight idea, as a kid, when you get it, you think you're afraid. You're not afraid. You're ready to fuck somebody up or get the fuck out of there, And so I think that what Jason's saying is absolutely true. I mean, when I was at treetop level and I blacked out, it was peaceful. In combat, it was never. I think that there was a degree of acceptance of the possibility, but I think that fear, it's maybe not the right term, but it takes over, and your conscious just isn't there. It's that monkey brain that
Right.
It's that shit where you'll be like fucking pinned down, and instead of just fucking hunkering down and fucking returning fire, you just something snaps and you're like, yeah, this is gonna go to shit real quick, and you just jump out the fucking window type shit.
Yeah,
And
it's just you just act.
Shit,
you just act. It's like that. It's like that woman exiting that apartment, that whatever. It's like any experience I had like that. I just acted, and then it was like after the fact, I'm like, oh shit, I did that. Like you
found
said,
yourself like when you're in situations
on
like
autopilot,
that, it's just out of nowhere. You have that moment of clarity. It's
Right.
just at first you just fucking I don't know what I'm from. And next thing you know, it's like, oh shit.
So I think it was. I think to what you're saying, Steve. I think that the fear, in a positive way of using that word, I think that kind of overrided any kind of acceptance of death in that moment. I never considered dying because I was too busy just being run by my, the autopilot. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then afterwards, that's why that fucking adrenal dump and the fucking. Yeah, and the fucking dudes trucking it to the fucking porta potties to beat off after a fucking firefight. I mean, I don't know if you experienced that shit.
Listen, man.
There was a lot of that, man.
Beat off is still the toilet. I need that poop smell. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I can't get hard without it anymore, man. I got to find a porta potty on the side of the road.
Romantic almost now.
It is, dude. It's
Don't look at me like that.
it's straight
Hey,
romance.
man, fuck. To each his own, bro.
Judgment-free zone.
I live
But no,
in a
I mean, that
fucking,
was-
I live in a glass house, man. I ain't throwing rocks at anybody.
But that was
Or trying to fucking patrol and your dick's hard. You're like, what the fuck?
I live
is
in a
wrong
glass
with
house
me?
and I walk around naked.
that's dangerous, man.
Patrolling with a hard on. Come on, you've been there.
You bastard.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's why it's like almost a come down, afterwards, because it's like a debrief chemically.
Right.
It's like fucking okay, shit, that happened.
And then logic sets in, like, oh, I'm a crazy.
Right. I remember being on a bird on a UH-60, and we were going into a mission in Afghanistan, and one of the kids that was with me, I say kids, we're all kids for the most part, and he was kind of it's impossible to be a dork and be there.
Right.
But he was a dork. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
No, I
Like
hear you.
I'll never call him
I've
a
seen
dork.
dorks schwack dudes.
Right.
You're
But
there,
you know what I'm
dude.
saying?
Dork
Like,
or not, welcome,
but
motherfucker.
You or I can call him a dork.
Yeah.
But like if some random called that dude a dork, he'd be like, "Fuck you, that's not a dork, man. That's a bad motherfucker."
fucking crazy.
You know what I mean? But he was a dork. I don't know.
Well,
Whatever.
no, it's like we talked about, man. It's like one thing, like you fuck with your brother. That's just a
Yeah,
fuck.
yeah.
You might get drunk and punch each other in the face. He goes down, you pick him up. I told you not to talk shit, asshole. Fucking sit there and drink your beer. But somebody else fucks with
Oh,
him.
I'll tell
it's
you what we're
fucking- it's
talking
all-
about.
He'll fucking
I'll
kill
tell you
you.
what we're talking about. We're
Right.
talking about a motherfucker just come back from a fucking patrol that just got schwacked and just murdered everybody within a fucking ECR and shit. Kept everybody away from him. Come back and what does he wind up doing? Getting on and playing World of Warcraft. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
The magic
Yeah,
cards.
that's-
man, the
reading
magic
comic
cards.
books.
Yeah, he don't give
So,
a fuck
yeah,
about the shit that just popped off. He's like, God damn it. I gotta get to my character and build this motherfucker
Exactly,
up.
exactly. So the World of Warcraft thing, that wasn't like we didn't have that, but it's funny that you say that because the guy I'm talking about is a dork. His thing was magic cards, right? So it was the same fucking type of dude, And I remember being on a UH-60 one time, and we were coming back. It was after exfil had us something or whatever, and actually we gacked in. We had ground assault convoy in, and then got picked up by the birds and left. And I was just doing cool shit that day. There was some contact or whatever, and I just remember that dude being like, "I can't wait to go home so everybody can see what a bad motherfucker I am." And I remember it being one of the funniest things I'd ever heard. In that moment, we all lost it because he was the dorkiest dude ever, but he was a bad motherfucker now. And it's just like this.
You know, it was more for his sake. That's more of
dude.
what do you call affirmation for him. It's like,
Right,
God
right.
damn it, I am
But
bad
it was so
motherfucker
fucking
now.
cool the way he said it, and I'll never forget that moment. And
He'll play Warcraft with vigor now.
Yeah, he's-
sit down.
Naked,
Exactly.
naked, covered in mustard.
I mean, he was
CLP
still
and shit.
when he came home, he was still going to be the dude in the mall with the fucking PT shoes on and the Dragon Ball Z T-shirt.
But
You
with
know what I'm
confidence.
saying? Yeah, but he was fucking smoking people, man. He was a bad dude, and he knew it. And he owned it. And I was like, dude, that's super nerd. It was awesome. But
And all the other little nerds and shit looking up to like, this guy's a fucking
right. But yeah, it was. But yeah, there was a lot of moments like that, man. It was just kind of surreal for one reason.
I
or the
think
next.
a lot of people ask me, try to bring up stuff, and honestly, it's a lot of that stuff that surreal feeling that you described. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still like think back, and the only thing that just pops into my head is like that couldn't have fucking been me.
Yeah.
No fucking way.
Absolutely. And it's I think I said to Steve when we were having a conversation a couple days ago, I did a lot of my adult life, even since, it's just, it's a collection of how the fuck did that happen? And I think that started in in that environment was that, you know, there's things that you do and there's things that I know that other people did that I witnessed, like the dork dude and, you know, whatever, and you're just like, how the fuck? But it's just that environment and those conditions kind of extract from you some element of character that you would never ever see under any other environment or conditions, and it brings out of you. It's like the ultimate test of man, you know, and it's
to bring you to where
bizarre.
you are today. You know, all that stuff was absolutely necessary, but I think a certain portion of it, your brain probably not data, but like archived.
Yeah,
I think
Emotional
I think you
experience
forget
of
it because it's happened to me a couple times.
I would
have guys say, "Dude, you remember when you did this?" It's like fucking no, and then have a couple guys like, "Motherfucker, I was there. You did
exactly,
this."
But
exactly.
There's situations like that too, because we're talking about a significant amount of years. You know, there's situations like that where we're always, oh, he was wearing a blue shirt. No, it was a fucking red shirt, dude.
Right.
Nah, I remember, you know, little things like that
Sure.
where you'll get.
So you get elements
small
of it
things
lost.
but for the most part, I think it's like when your brain, like you said, shuts off prior to fucking hitting, because it's your body's way of preserving itself and keeping you from certain level of trauma. You know what's another sentiment that's attached to that delirium, that hysterical comical delirium where you're in a fucking shit pickle and all you could do is just fucking laugh, bro. Like, hey, how the fuck
and you know what? I think the roots of that for me at least started in training stateside when the suck got so bad. You know, even something stupid like there was a piece of property called Area J at Fort Bragg, which is where you do all your like field exercise shit. And
Sounds
we used
like
to,
it's full of ticks.
yeah, dude, absolutely. Fire
Sounds like it's full of
fire
ticks
ants,
and
the fucking
fire ants.
spicy boys, you know.
baby.
But we were
Jerking off with a handful of fire ants.
that's it, man. You
Whatever
haven't lived.
it
You haven't
takes.
lived until you've done that, man. But yeah, man. I mean, you know, being out at even something as silly like being in Area J, and you know, you didn't get rain for 3 weeks, and then you have fucking sleet and windstorms and fallen branches, and you're just, you know, you get to a point your shit's soaked because you didn't pack any wet weather shit. You
Right.
didn't pack anything because you're fucking with strippers the night before.
Right.
So you didn't get the packing list right,
And you're
like,
still
oh, fuck.
hungover.
Now it's supposed to be a 24-hour exercise. Now it's going to be
watermelon berry spray.
exactly
and shit.
And
cucumber
your
melon
fucking
and shit.
cocaine got melted because it got rained on.
Yeah,
Got
exactly.
glitter in your cabbie paint. Anyway, go on.
What?
Right,
Whatever.
right. You still got, you know, fucking women's underwear on or some shit. You know?
Wow.
So your fucking butt's vibrating. You can't figure out why.
Yeah, you don't know. You fucking that thing got too far in there, and you gotta wait. You just, dude. Sometimes you just gotta suck it up, wait for the batteries to die.
Just
You
wait.
know,
Just gotta
Once
wait.
eventually they'll
Don't let
drain.
no one know.
That's it. Hope it's not a fucking lithium ion.
Oh, shit.
But no, they're fucking seriously, like being in an environment like that, and it's just like, you know, it starts pouring rain, or you didn't bring your shit, and you're just sitting there, and that giggling fucking delirium laughter
better.
when you've been up way too long,
yeah.
and you know, like pre-ranger shit. I remember, like I said, I don't have my tab, I didn't go to school, but doing pre-ranger and all, and you're there, and you're tired, and you're hungry, and you hallucinate shit, and you think that you have food that's not food, it's a pine cone or some shit, you know, and just it. But the giggles, that fucking girlish giggle laughter that you get with your boys, and then that carries over just from experience in hardship. I mean, like when I say hardship, like harsh conditions and environment in that training cycle, and then being in combat's like times 20. That same idea, like shit'll suck so bad, but you can't stop laughing, and it's you know, the silliest little thing. I remember some of the dumbest shit I laughed at. Like I said, that experience on the bird when the guy said about, I want people to see how fucking much of a badass I am, whatever. It's like, I laughed at that like it was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. And everybody did. The whole bird were fucking pissing ourselves the whole ride back.
And what's you bring the human mind to that point, the point of combat, the point of, you know, living through such fucking turmoil, dude. It kind of reverts you back to a simple, a simple appreciation of just little things and just the stupidest little shit like that. You just, oh my god, that was the funniest thing in the world. But as a defense mechanism, I'm saying it's like, you see a motherfucker get hit with like fucking a flechette rocket and his face ripped off. Like, dude, his fucking face just got ripped off. Holy shit, did you see that?
Yeah.
You know, like, instead of, oh my God, his face got ripped off. You know what I mean?
Because, I mean, the latter just isn't productive. You know what I mean? It's like you...
It's not necessary, and it's counterproductive
not gonna get you anywhere.
to survival. Yeah, and the human mind is so fucking interesting.
It's on the same note, man. When I do coaching or whatever, and I talk to people about we have in NLP and especially Tony Robbins is where I got the crazy 8 idea. But the crazy 8 emotionally is anger and sadness. right?
And
so like when you're
it's
spun
almost
up
like
on
where it
something,
keeps
it's
going.
infinite, right? So you go from being really pissed off about something and you get sad about it, and you get really pissed off about it and you get sad about it. And one of the things that I would work with that was someone when they were going through something, or they were, it could be something like a fucking breakup, or they found out their girl was cheating on them or whatever, or some fucking shit, but they'd go through that anger and sadness cycle. And I just tell them, just stay in the fucking anger cycle. Anger's productive.
Get it out the way. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sadness, you're not going to do shit. You're going to sit there.
I like that shit.
And
Anger get you to the gym. Anger
right.
get you lean, get
be
you
pissed
your
off.
six-pack. Yeah.
Fuck the 8. Drop
Get
the
you on
sadness bit
Instagram
off.
stunting and
Be
shit.
pissed off. You know what I mean? Say be pissed off, because being pissed off, anger at least is a productive state.
Yeah, everything
whereas
else is like that
sadness not.
mopey fucking on.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you stink.
And that's
like
what you're
fucking
saying, too, is
Newports
it-
and balls, dude. Get the fuck up.
Although that is
Go fuck something, for Christ's sake.
Yeah,
Newports
go
and
fucking
balls
get
is
some
quite the.
smell.
What's that? What's that?
Newports and balls
That's
is quite
the smell,
the.
though. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
It's the smell.
it's
It's
the
like, Jesus, it smells
potpourri
like
of
fucking
arousal.
misery.
What, Newports and balls?
Newports and balls.
That's
what a depressed motherfucker smells like.
pheromone bomb. Right there.
Newport. A depressed motherfucker smells like Newports and balls.
And
So,
they taste like those Starlight mint candies that everybody's grandmother has on their thing. That
So-
Jesus,
they don't
what are
actually
those, the
buy.
fucking violet ones you ever taste? Those taste like fucking cleaning agent. Like,
And they don't even. I swear, no grandmother actually buys those. They just show up once you
I
have
think
grandkids.
they buy them
just-
to piss their grandkids
they
off.
regenerate on their fucking porch.
think about it. I
You
mean,
just
when-
end up with a tin of them.
Once you
every
get to
now
that age, you're so like above everything already. You're just doing shit to fuck with the world
and then.
now. Yeah.
It's
Dude,
all
when I get-
sociological experimentation.
Nana's got some candy for you little fuckers. Come here. Like, oh.
bro, when I get 80, it's going to be hookers and cocaine.
Yeah, fuck it.
That's what I'm saying.
I will not go gently into the night.
I will fight against
Rage.
the dying.
Rage.
That's right. Rage
and
against,
rage.
the,
Against the
dying.
dying of the light.
That's right. So
know it.
03, you got out, and
Yes.
then you started Grayskull, and then you talked about your coaching and your new neuro-linguistic program training, and I know you wrote a couple books about that. I know you were involved coaching a bunch of people, so I want to hear about some of that activity.
About the NLP side?
All of it, the NLP, the coaching, to help people break
I want to hear about
barriers.
the NLP. That sounds very intriguing.
So NLP, I actually
If
got.
you'd have read the fucking books he emailed us, you rat bastard. He ain't reading, never mind.
I'm too busy painting.
I'll read it. He's painting and fucking inking people. You want something read, read it to me, and then I'll
Read it to
send
you.
it to me, and I'll fucking read it.
Story
and then
time.
I'll
I'll read to you later, Steve.
It's right.
It
But
gives me
you
the
gotta
main
use
points.
you gotta use your Jewish grandma voice, Jason.
Well, you want to read a book, banana? I got a banana.
But it's in your pocket.
Show mama that fat juicy hog of yours.
Oh man, but yeah, NLP I got into as a teenager, and it was kind of a bizarre set of circumstances. But I was
Tell me about grabbing all the books out of the library and sitting on the ground and reading them. That's
Well, that was
the
the-
important part.
that was the bookstore actually, because the library didn't have books on that
Right.
subject for the most part. I kind of exhausted that pretty quick.
Right.
So there was a Borders, the bookstore Borders, and I used to go there.
Right.
And I started going there when I was younger, and I had probably 150 books on martial arts, different
Right.
martial arts, and that's all I used to spend my money on.
Right.
At that age was books on martial arts. So then I got into with girls really.
Right.
One particular girl I've written about that's what kind of was the catalyst for me, kind of radically changing at numerous points. And she's a friend of mine still. I still talk to her or whatever. But it's kind of comical that how that all went down. But basically, it was got into NLP more on the getting girls, being like the Superman fucking game sort of thing.
Why?
you know?
Because it all comes down to vagina.
Right.
How old were you in this?
How old was I then?
No, when he started consuming NLP is what we're talking about. Because
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
a fucking tubby kid in school, and then he worked at the bookstore, right?
Well, I was super skinny kid, and then
Then you got tubby.
Yeah, for like 2 years.
Right.
And then I fucking lost 85 pounds in less than 2 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Without cocaine.
Without cocaine, yeah. Just imagine.
I have no idea what that's like.
Neither do I. But the NLP, I got involved that way, and actually I was reading a couple books about like, how to get girls kind of shit, like the
Right.
game aspect of it. And that kind of sent me down a rabbit hole as far as some of these ideas and concepts of, so I was kind of introduced to NLP. I didn't realize that was NLP at the time. Kind of got into it, and then basically historically throughout my life, anytime I got into something, the next, several weeks, months was nothing but consuming information on that. And that's what happened with NLP. I read everything I could get my hands on. And just started applying those ideas in various aspects of my life and kind of experimenting with it. Then when I went in the military, a lot of what I did that we talk about the 4 degrees of competence in NLP. I write about that in Blueprint to Beast, my one book. So you have unconscious incompetence, unconscious competent, or unconscious, hold on one second. Unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and unconscious competence. Okay, so what that basically means is unconscious incompetence means that you don't know something exists and you can't do it and you don't even know it exists.
Indifferent.
Yeah. Conscious incompetence means that you're aware of that idea or that skill or whatever it is, but you don't know how to do it. Conscious competence is, the example I always use with that is like if you're learning a foreign language. Let's say you're studying a foreign language for a couple of months, you get a certain degree of proficiency and you can have a little bit of a conversation. You're competent in speaking that language, but you're consciously competent of it in that you have to think to do it.
You have to translate in your mind.
Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah.
So that's conscious competence. Same thing with playing a musical instrument. When you're first starting, if you're playing guitar or whatever, you got to really think, okay, how do I make this chord or whatever. Unconscious competence is how I speak English or whatever, someone's native language is. It's actually never been proven or figured out exactly how what I'm thinking is just coming out of me right now through my voice. There's, as far as what portion of the brain regulates that, it's not something that's really understood at the ultimate level. So unconscious competence is just being able to do that, just being able to speak without having to form your thoughts first or whatever. So basically I realized that when I was in the military, anytime that I did something that made me successful, or same thing when I lost 85 pounds, even going back to that, was I was doing the right things. I was taking the right actions, or at least actions that were getting me to I didn't do anything right, but I produced a result that is what I wanted, desired outcome, so to say. And so I was unconscious in my competence. I was unconsciously doing those things. I didn't understand. I was succeeding, but I didn't know why. And at the origins of NLP, there was Richard Bandler and John Grinder, who were two guys that kind of synthesized these ideas. Richard Bandler was experimenting with the teachings of a family therapist named Virginia Satir and the father of modern hypnotism, Milton Erickson. And so he was kind of producing change for people, like real change on this college campus. John Grinder was a linguist and a Gestalt therapist.
Was he a common cunning linguist, a master of many tongues?
He was many tongues. In fact, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, John Grinder's fluent in, it's either 10 or 12 languages now. He's still alive. He's a wild motherfucker, man.
That was a kind of linguist reference if you didn't get that.
I got that? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A master debater. Yeah. But
another masturbatory reference. Keep going.
Yeah. But so anyway, Grinder approached Richard Bandler and said, I see what you're doing. I can teach you how you do what you do. And I always thought that was such a fascinating intro. And then the two of them kind of ran with it. NLP is the study of human excellence. It's associated with therapy in the therapeutic context because the original modeling of behavior was Virginia Satir and Milton Erickson, who were working in that therapeutic realm. But NLP, study of human excellence, applies to anything. There's processes.
Talk about the use of language and how you use that use of language to assist your coaching clients to break through barriers and things of that nature, so they could achieve whatever level they were talking about. Because there's a few examples plural in your books that you discuss, and the reason I'm breaking into this is because this plays into Grayskull, and I want to circle back into Grayskull, your participation in Grayskull.
But so on NLP, man, as far as you said about how we use language to influence, behavior and
productivity,
ultimately
primarily
result or outcome. That's kind of a lengthy topic. There's all kinds of different ways we do it. But I'll give you one example that I talk about in Blueprint to Beast. And
what number book was that of yours?
Fuck, I don't remember.
Can I just say before we continue?
Right.
Dude,
say that shit.
Where the fuck you come up with your names for your fucking books and all your fucking merch and all? You got the baddest fucking names I've ever fucking heard spit out.
I appreciate that.
Blueprint to Beast. Yeah. Bitches. That's a good example of alliteration
Greyskull
right there.
Nation.
Well, I told you, man. I'm a
Where egos come to die and monsters.
egos are buried and monsters are born.
Egos
man.
are buried and monsters are born.
I told you before we started rolling, I was an entendre lasagna. I just came up with
Yeah,
that.
dude,
you know what I mean?
entendre lasagna.
Fucking multi layers, man. But no, I honestly, man, I think on that shit
Like a
with-
white Dolomite.
That's right, man.
What?
I think on shit like that. Book titles and shit are really important to me. I have a project I was telling you about called "Work Harder, Not Smarter," and that's kind of a free thing I'm going to be giving away, which we'll talk about.
Right.
But
At the end of this podcast or the other piece?
whichever, whatever you
or
want to do.
both.
Yeah,
Why not, Steve?
Yeah, why the fuck not? Both. You rat bastards.
You know what? Just today only. Act in the next 10 minutes. But
Or when you fucking go and watch the video, there'll be what's that thing called at the bottom of the video, Jason?
A link.
Yeah, there'll be a link.
Yeah.
And you click on. No, I'm fucking completely retarded about that shit. Jason will tell you. He's fixed my phone for me a bunch of times, more than once.
He's got the jitterbug.
I do.
Gotta have the jitterbug, man. That's what I'm about to get my daughter. She keeps getting in trouble on her phone.
Oh yeah.
I keep telling her I'm getting her fucking jitterbug.
What is a jitterbug?
That's
It's
a
an old people
old
phone,
people
man.
phone where
Flip
all the
phone.
numbers are like this big.
Big buttons. All you can do is call.
Yeah.
You can program like you know.
It's got the big blue cross, and then the red
emergency.
shield for fire. The blue, yeah.
It's pretty cool, man. That's what you need.
Sorry, Steve.
Hell yeah.
Fuck you, Jason. Where my glasses at, you bastard?
Jesus.
Where'd they go?
Where's your specs?
That's all right. I don't need them. So anyway, NLP.
Yeah, so one of the examples I use in Blueprint is what we call a linguistic dissociation. So there's single and double or dual linguistic dissociations. And dissociation is just a way that you can remove yourself from an idea or a concept, to remove yourself from the state that's associated with that idea or concept. State being the sum total of your experience at any given moment. It's kind of crudely described as a mood. It's probably the closest thing you could say when you're in a positive state or a negative state, productive state. I like to use productive or unproductive instead of positive or negative, because like we talked about before, anger could be a negative state. We're describing it as negative, but it's also a productive state. So I look at productive and unproductive. But as far as linguistic dissociation, something that's common is an example I believe I use in the book is I'm depressed. If I say I'm depressed, right? One of the problems with that, there's a diagram I expound on in there called the belief loop, and that's something I actually touch on the belief loop in that Work Harder, Not Smarter, the thing I was talking about, the giveaway. But it's basically the most powerful beliefs that we have that limit us are what are called identity beliefs, what I call identity beliefs. And that's one of the issues that I have with, we talked about Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, and
Actually, when let's just say anonymous organizations, Jason, when you fucking take this, I want you to take Alcoholics Anonymous out of that, because it's at the level of press, radio, and film. So we'll circle back and say anonymous organizations. Okay? Yeah. We'll just say when I associate that with anonymous organizations.
Okay.
Only because those organizations work for a lot of fucking people. So,
no.
Yeah.
I was going to elaborate on that.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying, like, I think that's we should just leave that in, because that's you explaining the correct terminology and how to use, but teach people.
Okay, that's fine. Go
Show
ahead,
what's
then
up.
leave it in it, because we're not going to talk negatively about it.
No,
Absolutely
never,
not.
never.
No, I'm in no way, shape, or form bashing AA or
I would
NA.
never say anything about people
Listen,
that help others. No.
Okay, all right then.
I'm a
Strike that last. And also, I am an old fucker because my glasses were hanging on my shirt when I was looking for them.
Nobody said nothing. You snitch yourself out. We don't do that.
Hey.
You don't say shit.
Dude, you know me, motherfucker. I'm about owning your shit.
Yeah,
He was
I love
about
that
to
shit.
get on the jitterbug and call for support,
I
but
hit the fucking
He's gonna
red
hit the
cross.
blue button.
I
Yeah,
can't find my glasses.
gotta hurt the purple potato button, man.
That's
But
right.
So what I was saying about AA or NA, anonymous organizations, whatever phrasing you want to use, is one of the principal issues I have with those organizations. I'm not discrediting them or knocking them. They work for a lot of people. They provide a lot of people with help and support, and I'm all for anything that helps anyone. One of the issues I have with the application of linguistics with that and how it affects a person's belief or belief about their identity
And I'm going to steal this thunder from you for a second, is identifying with that particular ailment instead of saying I have recovered from.
Sure. I mean,
Right.
that's a prime example of using
Right.
linguistics to change just how that affects you emotionally.
Right.
So, for example, if you smoke cigarettes and you quit smoking cigarettes, And 20 years from now, you wouldn't go into a room and say, "Hi, my name's Steve, and I'm a smoker."
Right?
Right? Because you haven't been a smoker for 20 years.
Right.
And so saying, "Hi, I'm Steve, I'm an alcoholic."
Right.
To me, it's introducing. I'm not going to go up. I'm not going to introduce myself. Say, "Hi, I'm John. I have trouble following through with things." You know what I mean? And that's, so you're attaching that, you're making that your identity. And that's one of the litmus that I use, that little test of like,
Hi, I'm Jason. I'm going through some really hard shit right now.
Right.
Well, I do say, hi,
even
Steve,
more so,
I'm
I mean, that would be a more
masturbator.
accurate thing. Now, what you're saying is actually a singular linguistic dissociation because you're going through some hard shit. But if you were like, I'm Jason, I suck at poker. Like that's an identity. That's something that's attached to your identity now, right? So, for example, when someone says I'm depressed, okay, the idea is that they're making that their identity. Hi, my name's John. I'm depressed. Okay, like that's who you are. You're depressed. When in reality, you're not depressed. You're experiencing a depressed state. Mm-hmm. You're in a state of depression. Okay, so a more accurate way to phrase that with a single linguistic dissociation to take one step away from making that your identity is, I'm John and I feel depressed. Okay. So when you say I'm depressed or you say I feel depressed, it has a different impact on you as a person. If you say you feel depressed, you're acknowledging the fact that it's a state that you're experiencing. Yeah. You're not attaching it to your identity.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's
right.
almost like dealing with a spouse also. When you make I feel statements, or when they say
right.
Instead of saying you always do this shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of saying,
and I
feel
big,
a certain type of way when you do this, and that way it leaves that door open for betterment.
Right, and you're by using the word feel, you're using a kinesthetic terminology
at the moment.
Right,
this is what you're making me feel.
You're communicating with kinesthetic language that there's an emotion that's being invoked from you from the behavior that you're discussing. Instead of saying you always do this, you're an asshole.
Correct.
So that's just elements of the dissecting the language. But if you say I feel depressed, then it's removing you from that being who you are. It's acknowledging, just by saying I feel depressed, the implication is that at other times you feel differently than that.
That's like saying, oh, I had an accident, instead of saying, oh, I was pretty negligent. You know what I mean? Because
sure,
I don't believe in accidents, really. At the end of the day, it's carelessness, that leads to it at some point.
But so an example of a double linguistic dissociation would be saying I'm choosing to feel depressed. And that's a controversial one with people, right?
Good one.
So if you say I feel depressed, you're acknowledging that you can feel something other than that, right? Because by nature, if you're saying I feel depressed, you're acknowledging that there is an alternative thing that you could be feeling. Okay. I
think this is important for me to say here, just for for those that listen, those guys that support us, that go through the same shit we go through. At this specific point, what that mustered in me was, I choose to be miserable sometimes because it is my way of letting it out.
Let's use that. Let's use that.
Because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
We'll use that.
Not that it's comfortable. I feel because I'm able to fucking just be miserable for a day or two on my own without fucking prying. I get it all out. Like you said, living the fucking hate. I get it all out. And on that fucking third day, I emerge, and the sun is fucking warmer. Everything's beautiful.
I love that. Live in the fucking hate.
Yeah, live in it, man. But let's use that example that Jason used, right? So because it's using exactly what this is. Instead, we're using miserable instead of depressed. So if you said I'm miserable, that's like saying I'm Jason. Yeah. Okay, I'm miserable. That's who I am, right? If you're saying I'm feeling miserable, right? That's more accurate. It's more accurate in that moment you feel miserable. Right, and then you already jumped ahead and did a double linguistic dissociation by saying I'm choosing to feel miserable right now, right? And the idea there isn't that it's wrong for you to feel miserable for 2 days and come out on the third day, but what it does is it brings to light that it is a choice, and the implication is that if you're choosing to feel miserable, you could very well choose to feel something else, right? So it's taking that helplessness away from the person. If the person says I'm miserable, they're waiting on some external variable or some, objects, Newtonian physics, objects in motion tend to stay in motion, objects at rest tend to stay at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. If you are miserable, you're waiting on some fucking, exogenous thing to come in and slap you out of that, change your state.
To me, it's similar to going into REM sleep and knowing you're going to have a nightmare. At the end of the day, you're going to wake up.
Right.
So I go into that shit like,
Sure.
what do we got here? Now you
So
start looking
it's
around
just-
the nightmare, looking for interesting
It
things. You know what I mean?
it speaks to ownership. When Steve said he's big on owning things, you know, it speaks to ownership. It's that the shit isn't an accident. If you're miserable, you're choosing to feel miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the implication is that if I can choose to feel miserable and I'm choosing to feel this way, if I choose to feel a different way, I can. Right. And that's a big empowering type of a thing. And that's just one example of how you can use language. So if someone says, man, I'm miserable, or I'm depressed, or I'm down and out, you know, you work through that. Okay, you feel down and out. You feel depressed right now.
That's some strong shit to be able to just not allow outside elements or forces to get you to a certain way. I think it takes a very strong individual to have that level of confidence and just a secureness in themselves, like to be able to say, I'm feeling some type of way, but let's change that.
Exactly.
That
And
shit is
that's what
not
it's about.
easy
And
to do.
your ability to be successful in life comes down to what level of mastery you have over your own emotions. You know, if you look at people that react on emotion versus people that act with logic, it's very different in terms of the outcomes that they can produce. So using the SOF context or whatever, like if you say, okay, that's it, I'm quitting, right? I'm tapping out, I'm quitting. Right, in a trying situation, a selection course or something, I'm quitting. Single linguistic dissociation, I feel like quitting. Double linguistic dissociation, I'm choosing to feel like quitting. If that doesn't fire you to fuck up and make you a little pissed off,
That shit is so deep. I'm choosing to feel like
Choosing to feel like
instead
quitting.
of saying, you know what, I'm going zombie mode, one
Right.
foot in front of the other. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because that's a choice.
So you say, what the fuck am I
You already
doing?
know
I'm
you're
choosing to
miserable.
feel like quitting. Fuck that. I'm stronger than that. I'm
And
not a
then
bitch.
You don't
Here I
open
go.
yourself up to the bigger picture. Guess what?
Right.
The motherfucker to your left
So-
and the right is feeling the same shit, but they're still going.
And there you go. And see, that opens your mind to think that way. If you say, I'm quitting, you're closing the door on any of that external influence to come in. When you say, I feel like quitting, you're saying, man, I feel like quitting. In this moment, the environment that I'm in or the conditions I'm in make me feel like quitting. When in reality, nothing's making you feel like quitting. You're creating that in yourself. And you take it to that level by saying,
we want to go to the gym and
yeah,
fight
fucking
the
right,
bar,
right? See,
dude.
that's it. Blueprint the beast, right? So when you say, I'm choosing to feel like quitting, then exactly what just happened with you, Jason, you say, you know what, this motherfucker next to me, he's feeling like quitting too. And then where does your mind go? If you're a leader, if you're a strong person, you know, you turn to that motherfucker and you say, fuck this shit. They ain't going to break us. Let's rock. Yeah. You know what I mean? Fuck them. Let's go. They want to hurt us. We're not going to let them. And then it puts you in a different state. It's an empowering thing. If you go from I'm quitting, that's it, I quit, I feel like quitting, I'm choosing to feel like quitting, fuck that, I am not that person, I'm not going to quit. Are you with me? Let's rock. Fuck them, let's go.
And that's allowing that emotion to make you damn near physiologically fucking just incapacitated.
Exactly. When you're in that state,
You know, you're
and when
just
you're
frozen. You can't
exactly.
think of nothing.
It's
You're not in the
crippling.
moment.
It's crippling. It's debilitating. And when you can dissociate, and you take 2 steps of dissociation like that, you can take a 3rd step and say, I'm a bitch. I'm choosing to feel like quitting. Now, if that doesn't fire you the fuck up.
Yeah, because it's not like you fucking already slapped the table on it. Now
Right.
you're almost standing outside of yourself.
Exactly.
Saying,
That's dissociation. That what
Yeah.
you said. When we communicate, one of the things that I'm big on is communication and influential communication, effective communication. That's part of what Blueprint's about. So if you have what you just said about standing outside, right? If you have first position, second position, and third position. If I am to communicate effectively with you, right now I'm communicating in first position. Okay. Third position would be an omniscient observer, someone over here that's watching both of us communicate, that can observe. And you got to put yourself in that position and say, okay, how does this look?
Well, there's a need. One of the needs for that is when there's an outside element that is driving the communication, such as anger.
Yeah.
And that's why you say you got to be able to stand aside from that
Exactly.
emotion.
And that's dissociation. So dissociation also in communication would be going into second position. Second position is putting myself in your head. So if I'm speaking to you, I got to like time travel or hop or whatever and be in your head to understand how you receive it. If I explain something to you or I communicate something to you and you quote unquote take it the wrong way, that's my fault.
Exactly.
The burden of effective communication is on me, not on you. Okay, so how you interpret something and say, well, he got it all wrong. I didn't mean it like that. It doesn't fucking matter. You didn't communicate effectively. You got to be able to adapt and be flexible in your behavior. Okay, 4 pillars of NLP are outcome-based thinking, sensory acuity, behavioral flexibility, and rapport. Okay, so if you start with an outcome in mind, that's outcome-based thinking. I begin with the outcome. This is what I want to produce. Now, sensory acuity plays to the idea that I'm picking up on that this isn't being received in the way that I need it to be. So I got to go to my third position or my third pillar, which is behavioral flexibility. I got to be able to adapt in that moment. in order to maintain the fourth, which is rapport, and deliver the message effectively. So you do that with yourself. You do that with yourself, and that's what you're doing. And so by doing a dissociation linguistically, you're effectively using language.
He's chewing him up and getting a fucking
He is,
rocket
man.
again.
I'm firing him up. See that? Right now, Bo is choosing to feel aroused, right? So, but that's the idea, man. Like I say, if you go from I quit to I feel like quitting to I'm choosing to feel like quitting to I'm a bitch, I'm choosing to feel like quitting. And if that doesn't take you from that moment where you want to quit into a more productive state where you can say fuck the world, let's get it in.
It brings me to what we discussed a little off camera prior to starting today's show. We were talking about attrition is the mission when it comes to a lot of these soft. Because if you can allow yourself to be just give up to that point where you're just a complete piece of poop.
Yeah, man.
Fuck, I want you.
You can say shit here.
I think poop sounds a little weaker.
Poop, poop is softer.
Shit is
It's more flaccid.
It's a lot weaker.
Like a piece of
It's more
poop.
flaccid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
like
not
a
like a
fucking
form,
fat jiggly
fucking
dude. Yeah, you're poop, dude.
Yeah, a little soft motherfucker has a poop. He has a poop. He goes pee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But also, like you were talking
a leak
about,
is reserved for gangsters.
if you're not willing to take ownership of that shit, if you're not willing to disassociate from those feelings, then you're open to being a fucking victim.
Exactly.
You're open to fucking being consumed with fucking self-pity. You're open to staying there, hoping that some external fucking stimulation is gonna fucking fix you.
So
And
what-
it's just not.
I also like the levels of awareness you brought up, because to me that's the biggest part. Not only do I have to be aware about this communication and be effective in it. To be effective, I have to be able to deliver a message, and not every person receives the same way. But I also have to be cognizant of the rest of the room.
Yeah.
And also
Sensory
how I'm
acuity,
coming
yeah.
across, and how all whilst being involved in the communication.
If you want to
process.
be able to
That's some
strategically influence,
inception shit,
that
though.
it goes to into influence. You know, strategic influence. You want to be able to influence.
You said
have
rapport,
to be
you
able.
used the word rapport. That's a big one,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So you have to be able to hack rapport. You have to be able to communicate effectively if you hope to influence. Right. And with relationships, I talk about in Blueprint the Beast the 5 life headings. Okay, relationships being one of them, being both a relationship, you have a girlfriend or wife or whatever, but also just any interpersonal relationship that you have in your life. Fucking Bo just tearing up my hand. But
out.
The
Shitter.
in order for it to be effective in relationship, you're never going to be able to control another person. That's one aspect of one of the 5 life headings that you have zero control over. You never have control over another human being, but you have influence at best. At best you have influence, and you only have influence if you have rapport. You only have influence if you are a person who people like people that are like themselves, that are like how they want to be, or that they're attracted to. If you're not one of those 3 things, you're not influenced shit. So you got to lead from the front. If you want people are going to like you that are like you, like, I like to think that we're alike in terms, that's why we get along.
But also
right?
requires consistency.
Lots of parallels.
It requires consistency on your
You
behalf.
you gotta be a disciplined motherfucker, or else someone that
rapport goes away. You're nothing.
Right. If I went down a different path and started being a scumbag in my life, or revisited some aspects of my life where I was, then you guys are going to lose a level of respect for me.
It's like finding out Tony Robbins smoked crack or something. You know what I mean? It's like, Jesus, all that shit.
If he owned it, though, I wouldn't care.
So you gotta be congruent with whatever you're saying. You gotta be congruent with that in your life, and that's a big push with the thing. But the like you said about levels of awareness and all that kind of stuff, and victimhood. You brought up victimhood. Is one of my missions, and one of the things I've always tried to instill in people with my coaching or in my writings with Blueprint or something like that, is divorcing your perception from the reality of the situation in which victimhood is an option. It's like that's not a fucking option, and if you have the mentality that it's not an option, and maybe you get some tools, because we talked about conscious and unconscious competence, you're not expecting these people that just excel in life and are tough motherfuckers, hard motherfuckers that just kind of get it and kind of stay in that zone and just can crush life. They're unconsciously competent in handling these types of situations. Some people go to a selection course and they're just a fucking animal. They just cruise it, and I'm not talking on the physical level, because anyone there can hack it physically, or else they're not there. That's that mental piece. And some guys just excel under those conditions. Others, it's a learned fucking skill. That's why sometimes guys that roll out come back and crush it. You know what I mean? Or as a fighter, they're going to take a loss and come back and fucking crush their opposition because they learned from that experience. So conscious competence is something that I seek to help people develop, and by giving them some tools and some things to hack that state, hack that mental state. And dissociation is just one of the linguistic tools that we use. But there's a million of them, man.
What I want to get into is your next project coming out.
Okay.
And more or less, I kind of see a lane for you in where you are that motivational speaker, that because it sounds like to me you studied a lot of the sciences. You went to school for this.
He's
You
fucking voraciously
well
consuming the
Yeah.
shit since he could fucking walk.
And it's amazing to me. Cause must the
It's
names
pretty
alone. I
accurate,
don't even know
actually.
the fucking names of some of the girls I've dated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we're talking about important shit here.
Yeah,
We're not
right.
talking about cum
Talking about the shit that
dumpsters,
matters,
fucking
yeah,
Delgado. Jesus.
Holes. I like to call them holes. It's just simple. Strip it down.
No, but
Receptacle.
I see you with your little with your own project where you're putting out useful tidbits of advice of how to just alter perception to where you're giving yourself that running chance. You're not cutting yourself.
Yeah.
And
you're not
we'll
cutting your
talk
legs
about
off
the
before you run.
coaching and the fucking CrossFit and then the fucking bodybuilding and overcoming whatever obstacles. It's
I mean, you ever
naturally
thought
rolls into
about
that.
getting into something like that?
He was in it for a fucking long period of time.
Well, I'm talking about on social media. Opening
definitely.
yourself up
I mean, so most of the
to your base.
most
Until
of
he
the
fell off the fucking face of the earth with
Yeah.
fucking cocaine and booze. That's what he was doing.
precisely, man, precisely.
Hey, the wisest man didn't walk the easiest path. You know what I mean?
Dude, you don't learn anything until you get some fucking scars. Don't tell me that you did, because it's a lie. Especially dickheads like us. If it doesn't hurt, we're not going to learn. We're just not.
No, and that's a big thing. Like what Jason's saying. I mean, I did have a lot of reach with the books that I published, with live events, seminars, and coaching with people on the phone and whatnot. I did that for years. It was kind of, I don't want to say pre-social media, because like MySpace existed,
You were pre-CrossFit, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
No,
But
so
I-
that,
No, but
so
I get
that's,
it, I get it.
But
that's
so-
part of the fucking motivation behind this podcast and the next project we're going to work on is his fucking reemergence back into that fucking arena,
with it.
especially with...
I'm back from the dead.
sold.
I'm
I'm
alive.
back, bitches.
I'm
I'm
back,
sold,
baby.
man. You had me with my. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, but not only that, he when you first see him, he's in... People can see the video, but if they don't see the video, they just listen to the podcast. Johnny's fucking covered with tattoos.
Yeah.
On his fucking head, on his neck, all over the place. So you see him and you think, what the fuck is this guy gonna fucking teach me about anything? Except, how to murder motherfuckers or make speed, or meth. Sorry, I'm an old man.
Yeah, man.
But and when you sit down and you get to actually fucking talk to you and see exactly what we're talking about and the levels of your intelligence, and when you're talking about helping the human animal reach a different fucking apex,
Sure.
then it's a completely different deal. So what I'm so excited about, Soft Bad Monkey's involvement with fucking Grayskull and Johnny, is helping as many people as we can achieve
gotta tell
fucking
you,
shit
man.
they never thought fucking possible.
It seems like he'll be a great addition to the team to help us
Fuck
spread our
yes.
help out there, our message out there a little bit more. Man, you've been there, you've done
I'm
that.
all about it, man.
And now you're at a point where you could appreciate the simple things, with a certain humbleness. And that's all it is. At the end of the day, what can we do for you, man? You know what I mean? That's what we want. And now thank you, man. I thank you for having me sit down with Johnny, because I'm gonna tell you, I just learned some shit myself just now, man. I love that.
awesome,
I
man.
love moments where things just click in my head, man.
Now we had a couple of conversations offline. You and I had talked a couple times. I talked with Sin a couple times, and I was on the telephone with Jason. I'm like, we got to fucking get a couple shows. And Jason's like, what the fuck are you talking about? A couple shows? The motherfucker ain't a Medal of Honor winner. What the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like, you'll see, motherfucker. You'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Deep shit, man.
I appreciate
To work
it.
on your tats though, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna need some help on that. Yeah,
You got a little space on
I
your
got some
forehead.
space. I need a crown. You know what I mean?
I got
need
some
shit.
space on my forehead. Don't
Yeah, I
hide.
mean-
Don't hide any dicks on there.
I on that note, not on the Dick's note.
Oh,
'cause
damn, I was
on a dick
that's a whole
note.
nother
Waiting for
hour.
it, bro.
That's a whole nother hour. But
No
no,
dick tattoos.
I think what it is. I mean, what I've always tried to do is, I've been an aggregator of information for a very long time. I've consumed mass quantities of
That
information.
means collect. That means collect.
Right. So what I like to do is take the guesswork out. I like to shorten the distance between the dots for people that, I got a lot of questions. Blueprint the Beast came out of me getting questions from clients as, what's a good book to read on NLP? And I'm like, well, fuck, I got like 50 of them and they all suck, to be honest. Like, there's little tidbits that I've pulled out of different books, but to say that there's a definitive one, and in fact, in all honesty, the one that I used to recommend to people was Neurolinguistic Programming for Dummies. right? Like that book was one of the best books on NLP I've ever read as far as being actionable and straightforward and understanding the concepts. So I kind of decided to write my own NLP book, and I didn't want to market it as an NLP book. I still might at some point. I'm not a practitioner of NLP in terms that I have any sort of certification. I kind of pride myself on having 0 credentials at anything in life. But the idea there's all these practitioner and all these certification courses, and you go and you listen to somebody that's never applied this stuff, never changed anyone's life, regurgitate information that they read in a book, in an academic thing. I have a big problem with academia as a whole. And, they get a certificate and now they're going to be an NLP practitioner. But they only ever learn NLP as a therapeutic tool. Because like I say, that association with therapy came from the synthesis of NLP in the beginning. But so Blueprint was kind of like, here's some practical shit. Here's some ways that you can use these things. I didn't really bring NLP into it by name because it was kind of like, here's some of the things that I've been able to do and here's some tools you can use. So what I want to do is I don't want to, dizzy somebody with some cool shit. We talk about mirroring and modeling. I talk about eye access cues and which portion of your brain you're using when I look at you to determine whether you're lying or doing this or that, or some of the things that you can do with NLP that are really cool. It's like, okay, here's a cool party trick, or here's a cool, let me vomit all over you with something that I read years ago that makes me sound intelligent. It's okay. I've done all that. I've stripped all those pieces out. I've used myself as a human guinea pig, and I've helped people all over the world with coaching, consulting, whatever, in a variety of different contexts and situations and different walks of life. So here are some tools. Here's the real deal shit. When I talked about the double linguistic dissociation and the feeling like quitting, the guy that's in the selection course, there is a hack, and that's something, a preparatory thing. Someone going to,
pain hacks.
Yeah, my brother going to, I call him my brother, going to Ranger Assessment Selection Program. Some of the simple things I told him is advice that either one of you guys probably would have given him as well. It's just like, at the end of the day, this shit ends. Whatever you're going through, it will end. Something like that. But that double linguistic dissociation, it's like, dude, if you're saying to yourself, that's it, I'm quitting, or I'm ringing the bell, in your case, in butts or whatever, it's, you use that hack. Say, you know what, motherfucker, I feel like quitting. You know what, I'm choosing to feel like quitting. You know what, I'm a bitch, I'm choosing to feel like quitting. Bang.
It's
and then maybe it brings you back.
Bringing yourself at attention,
So,
just fucking.
It's a hack. It's a jump start.
Feeling this way.
Yeah.
Well, why are you feeling this way? Because I'm a bitch.
Yeah.
Stop being a bitch.
Right. So if that's the one takeaway that somebody could get from, if that was one tool that someone could get and go into an environment like a selection course, that might help them. Now, they might still quit.
Yeah.
There's nothing to say that they wouldn't still quit, but maybe that hack helps them. Yeah. They at least have a tool that they can use, that they can draw on in that moment to maybe get them through it,
Well, I can say, honestly, I never felt like quitting. I fucking hated those guys way more than, seriously, way more than they could fucking hate me. And I didn't care if I got fucking dead from the whole situation because I'd had an unusual existence up until that point, and I had absolutely fucking nowhere to go. I didn't have a fucking home to go back.
Burn the boats, man. The boats were burned.
That's it.
You set fire to the boats.
I've been practicing that, since my time in the military as well, going through these certain courses where selection is required, and it's like, you're in that moment, you're sucking so bad. You think, oh shit, nobody's feeling what the fuck I'm feeling, and then you look up and you realize
everybody is,
man.
No, even better. I'm not the last one at this run.
Yeah.
I'm actually in the middle of what the fuck?
Right.
That guy's sucking way worse than I.
Yeah.
And then forget it. It's on after that. You know,
Right,
and you realize
right.
it's just that mindset, man.
And
Sometimes
that's it.
you gotta
It's
stop feeling sorry for yourself.
Exactly. And feeling sorry for yourself is victimhood. And it's the idea of victimhood. It's the idea that it's okay and it's acceptable to be a victim. And it's cool if that's what you want to do and you want to quit and you want to suck at life. Then
if you're a fucking cringing bootlicking coward, that's
Right.
fine.
But nobody with a fucking nickname like Purple Potatoes is ever going to get fucking anywhere in life like that. You know what I mean? It's gangster fucking, right?
Those are alien eggs in his rectum.
That's right, man. That's fucking.
That shit went from blue
You got to get them
balls
through
to
TSA
fucking,
somehow.
That shit went from blue balls to balls of steel.
Fucking right,
in
man.
an
You
hour.
gotta-
Look
you
at
gotta
that.
carry those purple potatoes.
You heard it here, gents.
But that's it, man. It's just about equipping people, man, giving them tools to help them succeed. And maybe it's not a selection course. Maybe it's just fucking toxic relationship.
Knowledge.
You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe it's
Toxic
like
or
you
just
said.
life.
Yeah, just life in general.
relative.
How you can suck less at life.
Right.
With the fucking pain hack from Johnny.
That's it, man.
You bitches.
Pain.
All right. So, hey, I say we fucking wrap this thing up.
Let's do it.
Go fucking eat some burritos and shit.
Or, as Johnny states, phallic-y shape.
Phallic foods, yes.
Phallic.
So I am coming out with a new book. It's the foods that look like Dick's diet, right? So it's
That shit was straight to the point.
it's only
That's right.
it's only phallic
And
foods.
Barnes and
So
Noble. Hey, what's this, food
burritos,
that's
hot
shaped like
dogs,
Dick's diet?
fucking baby carrots,
Bananas,
yeah, bananas are good. Yeah, bananas are good.
avocados.
Avocados. I mean, unless you got
Oh,
some,
sure they do. Avocados,
some kind of
pineapple,
deformed Asian dick, or something, I don't
pineapple,
know.
zucchini, cucumbers.
Yeah, anything like that.
Dicks
Anything
you've been seeing.
phallic.
What the fuck? That's overseas dicks
Well,
you've been looking
see,
at.
Hey.
Steve clearly's been following this diet for a while.
Hey,
Non-vaccination
Just
penises.
so you know, I'd fuck a snake if you could hold it straight long enough.
Jesus, man.
We'll experiment with that.
I'm just letting you know.
Snakeskin condom.
Oh yeah.
Incondomated. All right, that's it for now. You filthy.
Actually-
What, you dirty bastard?
Steve.
What?
Johnny.
Yes.
Would you care to tell people where to find your books?
Oh,
currently?
that's
Oh
right.
yes. So there's a lot of overhauling going on right now, website wise and whatnot. Probably the easiest way right now. I'm doing that book, Work Harder, Not Smarter, as a giveaway. At the time that this is aired, it will be available for free, absolutely for free. What it is basically is a kind of an introduction to some of my ideas and methods, and I pull on a lot of things from a lot of different existing titles that I have, kind of some excerpted material and some things that are in need of an overhaul. So I want to give it away to anyone listening. So basically you can go to grayskullnation.com. That is Greyskull with an E. So grayskullnation.com. It'll just be a simple page. You can enter your email and download the book for free. And then, hopefully I'll stay in touch with people from there and they get updates on what's happening. I have a lot of old archive content available. I have a site called johnnypainlive.com that's out there. That's in need of an overhaul. I'm working on those things. I'm just coming back from the dead, so to say. Instagram, the Johnny Payne on Instagram. You can follow me on there. I'm also, Steve talked about the project that I'm doing with Sin Martinez, Mr. Sin. He's a longtime friend of mine. We have a joint project on Instagram called Villain 6. It's Villain 6, the numeral 6, Villain 6 Actual on Instagram. You can search us on there. So that's basically it. But yeah, check out grayskullnation.com. Download the free book, Work Harder, Not Smarter. Get some of these actionable tools and whatnot for free, and maybe
I'm looking
we'll.
forward to reading it, especially if it's your latest project. So meaning this is going to be, of your opinion, at the freshest point right now. So
well, like I said,
basically,
this project is actually a lot of excerpts from. It's just kind of an intro to what I got. I got some stuff coming down the pipe. That's,
anything you go back on and kind of like, hey, this is.
I do that from time to time, which is why I come out with future editions. Like I have a book, a project I've been working on for a while called Money, Muscle, and Sex: Becoming a Man of Power. So that's gonna be fire.
So
man.
if someone,
I like that. Money, muscle, and sex.
Yeah, becoming a
so
man
if
of power.
someone was to bother to invest their personal time in you, you don't let down because you're consistent. And we're talking about how many publications you're already out? 22?
22.
Published
Now, some of
22.
those, just to clarify, the 22, it's not like they're 22 individual titles, because some of them are a few later editions or books that were adapted.
No,
So-
hey, listen, there's still more fucking books that I published. So, long story short, it's not like you're going to fucking publish and disappear off the face of the earth.
No,
so
I mean,
if someone is looking for a little bit of long-term
Absolutely.
guidance or long-term advice, you're the man.
Yeah, I'd certainly like to think so, man. There's plenty of, like I said, there's plenty of existing stuff. All the Grayskull LP, LCI method, villain challenges, all the different books on fitness. There's Swole, the Grayskull growth principles on, getting big, diet, things like that. Blueprint to Beast, of course. I have a book called Success in Personal Training, which kind of tells my story. It's autobiographical, but it's also instructive. Different ways that I built my businesses early on. So there's a lot of existing projects, and like I said, that Work Harder, Not Smarter is going to take some of the key elements out of some of those, and that's why it's free. It's a giveaway, so get people some exposure to some of the things that I have already, and kind of give some foreshadowing to some things coming down the pipe.
Right on, man.
So a lot in the works.
Fuck yeah.
I like it. Well, thanks for coming on, Johnny, and I'm
Thank you
sure
for
that's
having me,
not
man.
going to be your last trip
I
on the
certainly hope
fucking
not,
soft
man.
bad monkey.
I want more.
You know it. I enjoy the hell out of being here and being.
We
with you
want
guys.
more pain, you fucking filthy fucking meat sacks. We're out.
You bastards.
You bastard.